Boundless spiritual chi emanated from each of their bodies, fighting against the aura of the soul detachment. It seemed that these people had also come prepared. This kind of array formation was not something that could be cultivated in a day or two. Everyone's output of spiritual energy had to reach a balance, otherwise, the foundation of the array formation would be destroyed. The Dharma eye of this array formation was none other than the heaven and earth pillar. With him as the eye, it was quite safe. Li Hun did not move the five-colored divine sword in his hand. He did not even take any defensive measures. A faint curtain of light appeared around Soulfly's body and gradually expanded. Strange runes gradually appeared on the ground, and the dense spirit chi also became stronger as the formation took shape. Seeing this scene, Qing Tiandi's lips curled into a smile. He loved people who underestimated their enemies the most because they didn't know how tragic the consequences would be. Ha! The 100 people shouted angrily. Their loud voices soared into the sky and even pierced through the black clouds above, forming a white cave. Suddenly, a tentacle-like face suddenly appeared on the formation. In the blink of an eye, Li Hun was completely wrapped up. It looked like an Asian binding. In the sky, a huge treasure sword slowly formed as the spiritual pressure gathered. A terrifying pressure swept across the ground, and the scene was like the end of the world. At this moment, all the facilities in the amusement park collapsed. At this time, the host could not help but exclaim, "Dear viewers, a treasure sword formed from spiritual chi is gathering in the sky. This aura is enough to kill the female demon below." Facing such an array formation, the female demon is completely defenseless. The Righteous Alliance and the Peace Association are really the saviors. Let's give them a thumbs up. When the people in the plaza saw this scene, they already knew the result. This array formation was too powerful. It did not give anyone a chance to survive. First, it tied her up, then it used the treasure sword. This sword seemed to be able to pierce through the entire earth, let alone a woman's body. Soul Detachment slightly raised his head and looked at the treasure sword in the sky. The corner of his mouth curled into a smile that no one knew. Do Fusher, who was hiding far away, also shouted through the earpiece, "Little Soul Detachment, stop playing around. Be careful. Little Dodo, don't you know my strength?" Do Fusher was speechless. Soul Detachment's strength was indeed very strong. Even I could only lie down. In the end, this was all because of Do Fusher's bullish *T. The unknown black gas that was brought out by Do Fusher affected Soul Detachment's body. At the same time, it affected Soul Detachment's strength. Wei Cheng's black gas was not just ordinarily powerful. It was able to turn a person from level 0 to level 100. The Green and Red brothers were a good example. The treasure sword in the sky had already formed, and it was emitting a scorching aura. The treasure sword that was formed from spiritual chi was also emitting a resplendent radiance. The entire scene looked as if the world was being saved, and everyone who saw this scene was filled with excitement. The 100 people shouted again, "Destroy!" Everyone pointed their fingers at Soul Detachment, who was at the center of the array formation. The treasure sword in the sky moved. The tip of the sword pierced through the air and created sparks. A terrifying pressure rushed towards Soul Detachment. Soul Detachment's beautiful hair immediately fluttered in the air, but Soul Detachment was still unmoved. Along with the speed at which the treasure sword was descending, the treasure sword gradually became smaller, turning into the size of an ordinary longsword. Although the treasure sword had become smaller, the spiritual chi around it had become even more turbulent. Do Fusher shouted worriedly through the earpiece, "Little Soul Detachment, quickly dodge, it's dangerous." Soul Detachment ignored Do Fusher and continued to straighten his chest. Everyone's eyes were fixated on the scene, waiting for the scene to start cheering. The treasure sword finally descended, and with everyone's hope, it pierced towards Soul Detachment's chest. Everyone held their breaths and stared fixedly at the scene. The white spiritual sword came into contact with Soul Detachment's chest. This scene froze on the big screens in all of the public squares, and everyone immediately started cheering. Success! The witch has finally been killed. Men don't need to be afraid anymore. They can stand up and continue to masturbate. Waves of cheers swept through all of the public squares. People hugged each other and celebrated crazily, and couples stood on the streets and kissed passionately. They could finally walk on the streets openly, and they wouldn't have to worry about the witch descending from the sky to kill them. However, just when everyone was celebrating, the joyful expression on their faces froze, because something strange appeared on the screen. Chapter 650. At this moment, the spirit sword was like a piece of paper, colliding with Li Hun's chest, and the huge inertia caused the spirit sword to be compressed into a ball. Then it fell to the ground without making any sound. Everyone stared blankly at the screen, unable to believe everything in front of them. Such a powerful sword actually had no effect. It was like air in front of the demoness. This demoness was only wearing an ordinary long dress. It was impossible to tell what kind of armor she was wearing. Yet she was able to block the greatsword with just her body. Was she even human? All the men were in despair. God wanted to exterminate men. When some girls saw such a scene, they immediately pounced into their boyfriend's embrace and cried bitterly. Why didn't the heavens take back the witch? If the witch doesn't die, my boyfriends will die. When Yihua saw this scene, he first went into a slight daze and soon after, he laughed out loud. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji still don't know what kind of personality men have. He loved watching such scenes the most, especially those expressions of despair. I like this departed soul. Not bad. Yihua looked at Li Hun, who was shown on the screen. This expression, this gaze, it is truly somewhat similar to the main body. To be able to receive a white blade on his chest, formidable. I am going to go and properly praise this soul departing. He has done a great job. However, Yihua immediately felt the killing intent coming from the side. What do you like? Say it again? Qingye said tenderly. To actually say that he likes his subordinate's wife in front of me. Does he even have a bottom line? Donghuang Baiji snorted. The two women were very jealous. They would rather hear Yihua say that he likes Yutong than to hear Yihua say that he likes other women. The main thing was that the pretentiousness displayed by Li Hun caused the two women to be a bit surprised. From the looks of it, I have never done something like this before. Seeing how happy Yihua is smiling, the two women couldn't help but feel unhappy in their hearts. My wife is getting jealous, my husband, do as you see fit. Yihua coughed lightly, expressing that he was a bit embarrassed. I'm just sighing with emotion. The expression that this soul has displayed is quite similar to the main body. Donghuang Baiji pouted her cherry lips, then said coquettishly, if you still say that you like other women in the future, I will go on a hunger strike. Me too. Qingye echoed. You. How old are you? Why are you still fasting like Yener and Ali? It's none of your business. You're not allowed to like other women anyway. Alright, I, the Supreme Overlord, will not talk about it anymore in the future, alright. Yihua was helpless. To think that you all still dare to say that I, the Supreme Overlord, am jealous, but aren't you all the same? Hearing what Donghuang Baiji said, Qingye and Donghuang Baiji immediately beamed with joy. The two of them kissed their husband sweetly, then continued watching the movie. Yihua sighed with emotion in his heart. Seems like I and Yutong will have to continue having an affair. These two women don't even allow me to talk about it, let alone do it. At this moment, Wandering Soul yawned again as if he was very sleepy. Is this your righteous path? Li Hun said coolly. Qing Tian was shocked. This formation actually had no effect on soul detaching. It shouldn't be. Even if an expert were to be reborn, facing such a formation would only result in death. However, this woman was actually able to block the white blade on her chest. How was this possible? It didn't make sense at all. Qing Tian wasn't the only one who was surprised. Hundreds of people were dumbfounded. Under such a huge attack, this woman wasn't injured at all. She even yawned and taunted them as if the attack was just a tickle to her. Li Hun narrowed his eyes. I'll show you. I'll show you what is the true righteous path. Li Hun could be seen loosening her grip on the multicolored godly sword. The sword didn't land on the ground, and was instead floating in the air. Thoughtless severing sun. Li Hun's alluring little mouth slowly spat out. The multicolored godly sword instantly blossomed with light, and everyone couldn't help but narrow their eyes. However, just like that, tens of people fell from the sky while being covered in blood. The multicolored godly sword was like a bullet that could track its target. and it pierced through every single person's body. Facing such an attack, everyone present was completely unable to do anything. As the number of people decreased, the formation instantly dissipated. Li Hun swung her hand, and while listening to the sound of people falling from the sky, Li Hun slightly closed her beautiful eyes, seemingly enjoying this moment very much. In the blink of an eye, all 100 people fell onto the ground, and their blood was like a pool of blood. Meanwhile, the multicolored godly sword returned to Li Hun's hand. Righteous path, that is just a plaything under my high heels. Li Hun sneered. When Do Fusher heard what Li Hun said, he felt as if his entire body was about to combust, and he really wanted to press Little Soul onto the bed and rub her against him. Furthermore, I didn't expect that Little Soul would have such a strong personality. Is this my woman? F***K. I, Do Fusher, am known to have dug up countless treasures, but I still can't compare to this woman. Little Soul is the real treasure here. Yihua also heard Li Hun's voice, and the corner of his mouth twitched a bit. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji were about to roll over from laughing. Haha. Yihua. To think that you would have such a day. Look at that Li Hun, she is even better at acting than you. Qingya was about to cramp up from laughing. Donghuang Baiji covered her small mouth and laughed. I must say this Li Hun is indeed formidable, especially that plaything under my high heels. Why is she so awesome? Even I am starting to admire her a bit. Yihua felt that he had met his match. How can I be defeated by Do Fusher's woman? Wait till I, the Supreme Overlord, also come and act cool one day. I will let you all know what is called strong. What is called a real strong personality. When Yihua's words landed into everyone's ears, the crowd burst into an uproar. Righteous path is just a plaything under this woman's high heels. Looking at Li Hun on the big screen, Li Hun is truly handsome. Some brainless fans immediately started cheering and shouting that Li Hun was handsome. In fact, there were even some young ladies who idolized Li Hun and fantasized that they would also be able to do something like Li Hun. Honestly speaking, with Li Hun's imposing manner and the surrounding bloody environment, coupled with her words, Li Hun was truly extremely handsome. Looking at Do Fusher, he was about to not be able to endure it anymore. Bai Cixin and Wang Debao were also looking at Li Hun blankly. This woman is actually so strong. If we didn't get poisoned that night, the ones who would have died would have been us. Meanwhile, Wang Debao was also comparing Li Hun with his wife. It seems that Li Hun is slightly taller than Li Hun by a bit. I am truly envious of this man. Of course, Wang Debao was just sighing in admiration. This woman is truly strong. Meanwhile, Jiu Yi, who was at the side, was still fiddling with the 8848 titanium phone that he was holding onto, and was currently making a call to the after-sales service. Just by listening to that roar, one could tell that Jiu Yi was very dissatisfied. On the stage, Li Hun was holding onto a 5-colored godly sword, and her pair of bright red high heels were stepping on the blood. With every step she took, everyone's heart would throb. Everyone was thinking, could it be that there is no one who is able to stop this demoness? Heavens, quickly send down a brave warrior to save everyone. Are you still going to continue acting? Li Hun said faintly. Chapter 651. Everyone was curious. What was this demoness talking about? You were clearly the one who was acting tough just now, and you're still talking about others? There are corpses all around you. But among the corpses, a person slowly stood up. This scene gave everyone hope. There was actually someone who hadn't died yet. That was great. This was actually a vicious cycle. From hope to despair, then hope rose again, and then despair again. At this moment, the camera was also focused on Qing Tiandi. No one knew if Qing Tiandi was embarrassed. He actually lied on the ground and pretended to be dead. What kind of courage did he need to do that? Fortunately, no one paid attention to this. They were more concerned about whether Atlas God could kill the she-devil. After all, everyone was dead except for him. Is God raising heaven and earth full of crap right now? Today, he had completely lost all his face. It was all because of his miscalculation that this woman had actually used her chest to block the array formation that he was most proficient in. What was she trying to prove? You didn't stuff it with silicone. He could guarantee that this world of solitude was formed naturally. It was the super soft type, and it felt extremely good to the touch. At this moment, Yihua also saw heaven and earth. In actuality, Yihua had never seen heaven and earth before, but he had a feeling that it was heaven and earth. Look, this is our opponent. I have to take a screenshot and post it on Tieba. Then, I'll hire some keyboard warriors to flame him. He'll be so angry that he'll vomit blood. Yihua was very proud of himself. To be my opponent, I'm afraid that you don't even know what your surname is anymore. I really don't know where your courage comes from. If you learn how to sing the song Courage, then you will truly be courageous. Qingye took a good look at it. Is this the heaven and earth pillar? It feels so low. That's right, we were actually framed by him. This is truly a loss of face. Donghuang Baiji was rather speechless. She didn't expect that her opponent would be this kind of trash. Yihua sneered a few times. That's because I let him off a few times. I wanted to see what kind of trouble he could come up with. I didn't expect that the incident this time around would force him to personally show himself. This soul separation is not bad. Hearing that their husband was praising soul departing again, Qingye and Donghuang Baiji's expression became serious again. Yihua also felt it. Just what is going on with these two women recently? Why didn't this kind of phenomenon happen in the past? It could only be said that Qingye and Donghuang Baiji were worried that Yihua was having an affair, which was why they were being so sensitive. But at the very least, Yihua wouldn't go and poach his subordinates. Taking 10,000 steps back, Qingye and Donghuang Baiji were still a bit stronger than soul departing. This was a kind of overall effect and unique aura. Wang Debao and Bai Cixing did not expect that the heaven and earth god would personally participate in the competition. It was obvious that the heaven and earth god attached great importance to this competition. Of course, Lord Jiu also saw the heaven and earth god. His mind started to turn frantically. If this master died, it seemed like he would have to seek shelter elsewhere. This Lord Jiu lacks everything but a master. If you don't believe me, take a look at my contacts on WeChat. As he stood up, the entire scene exploded in an instant. It was as if a giant had stood up. Everyone had forgotten that this guy had been playing dead just now. Handsome. Get rid of this demoness, and my girlfriend will sleep with you. That's right, as long as you kill this female devil, my boyfriend won't mind, because he wants to live. Get rid of her. I want to go to the bar and pick up girls. Countless men began shouting. All of their hopes were placed on heaven and earth god, but right now heaven and earth god was in a bad state. Soul departing kept the multicolored divine sword in her hand and stretched out her slender index finger. On the fingernail, there was even red nail polish that was painted on it, and it looked very beautiful. You are their leader, right? Kneel on the ground and repent, and I will spare your life. That arrogant soul departing, if placed in other places, she would be a villain, and heaven and earth god would be the main character that was going to defy the heavens. Of course, heaven and earth god wouldn't admit that he was their leader, only an idiot would admit that. However, this woman sure is daring, to actually want me to kneel down and repent. I'm afraid that you haven't experienced my true ability. Something's wrong. Heaven and earth god looked towards the helicopter in the sky. If I were to reveal my true ability, wouldn't I be exposed? If I were to reveal all of my trump cards, what am I supposed to do? Should I be a coward first? In the future, I will look for an opportunity to make a comeback. This is a good idea. No. A strong person must have the dignity of a strong person. How can I kneel down? However, as a man, I have to know when to yield and when to stand tall. I have to know when to grow and when to grow. I have to know when to shrink and when to grow. At most, I will use blood to wash away this humiliation in the future. I still can't. As a man, I have to be able to support the heavens and the earth. Even if blood can flow, my dignity cannot be messed up. It has already been 5 minutes. How much longer do you need to think about? Soul departing was a bit impatient. At the very least, you should say something. Why are you taking so long to think about a matter of survival? Just as soul departing was getting impatient, his earpiece rang. Little soul departing, his honor said, we cannot kill this man, but we can cripple him. Do Fusher had just received Wei Cheng's order, and he hurriedly passed it down to soul departing. Don't mess up his honor's plan. And got it. Soul departing said lightly, However, no matter how lightly soul departing said, soul departing was still heard by heaven and earth God. This woman. There's someone on the helicopter. Who is the one that gave the order to this woman? It is definitely Voidless Realm. Damn it, this Voidless Realm is so ruthless. To actually force me to such an extent, vicious enough. Heaven and earth God had calculated everything. But he didn't expect that soul departing would be attacked by Dofusher's fart. If not for that fart, soul departing definitely wouldn't have been able to withstand that greatsword. And soul departing would definitely have been injured. That's why I say, Dofusher's fart is truly good. Heaven and earth God straightened his back, and locked his gaze onto soul departing. That expression of his gave off the feeling that he was looking down on the entire world. In a single sentence he gave off the aura of a king. Suddenly, soul departing's brows wrinkled. Soul departing's delicate body immediately moved at high speed. Soul departing turned her head around and looked at her skirt, and a tear was actually torn open on it. Not bad, no wonder you didn't kneel, you have some ability. Soul departing was a bit unhappy. This is a new skirt that I just bought, and Dofusher has only seen it once. Dofusher even said that my eyesight is not bad, but right now, my skirt was actually torn open. Bastard. Soul departing's beautiful eyes shifted towards heaven and earth God. The latter was startled. What's going on? Why did you suddenly get angry? I didn't even injure you. What are you getting angry for? Are you crazy? All of the spectators were no longer calm, and they began cheering once again. This female devil actually dodged. She actually dodged. This is a great thing. There is actually someone who told her to dodge, which means that even she is afraid. An overflowing evil aura burst out from soul departing's body. You. I'm going to crush your head with my high heels. Chapter 652. Because Dofusher liked to wear high heels, Drifting Soul also liked to wear high heels. Therefore, every sentence he said had high heels in it. Soul departing's body flickered as she stood in place, not daring to be careless. A strange shadow hovered around Sky holding, like countless invisible knives. To be more precise, they were knives formed by astral winds. Back then, Xiaoyi had died under this move, instantly killed. However, soul departing wasn't Xiaoyi. That ghostly movement technique was actually frantically dodging, causing Qing Tian to be in a daze. This woman was actually able to dodge. How was this possible? Holding the heavens and earth had seen people use weapons to block, but he had never seen anyone who could hide, and hide for so long. Shadowless green light. Holding up the heavens and earth, Qing Tian roared as his body emitted bursts of spiritual qi. His strength rose to the peak. The surrounding astral winds gradually turned green, and their speed increased. It also meant that it was sharper. Li Hun, who had transformed into a phantom, snorted. Do you really think you can stop me? Courting death. Golden scale fist. Qing Tian's face tightened as he felt a powerful pressure coming at him. That small golden fist actually broke his astral wind with a single punch. This was way too powerful. Shield of Forgetfulness. Qing Tian roared as a black iron shield appeared in his hand. Don't underestimate this shield. It was an ancient divine artifact, and its function was to counterattack. No matter how much power the opponent had, it would be reflected back. Soul departing didn't think too much about it. His fist slammed fiercely onto the shield, causing a shockwave to explode out and a series of explosions. When departed soul's punch landed on the shield, he realized that something was wrong. A powerful force was counterattacking. Bang! Soul Drifting's body was sent flying dozens of meters away. Her red high heels left a deep mark on the ground, but the heels did not break. It could be seen that the quality was quite good. After this battle, this pair of high-heeled shoes was sold out. When everyone saw that soul departing had been sent flying, they were stunned for a moment before bursting into cheers. Dear viewers, I'm here to tell you a piece of good news. This demoness has been beaten back. They were forced to retreat by this hero. A hero has fallen from the sky. We are finally saved. When some men saw this scene, they cried tears of joy. They had finally seen a miracle. It wasn't easy. They didn't even dare to go shopping with their wives anymore. Drifting Soul slowly straightened his body and stared at heaven and earth. Qing Tiandi said faintly, This shield of mine. Before he could finish his sentence, Qing Tiandi felt a creaking sound coming from his shield. With the naked eye, he could see cracks appearing on the surface of the shield. The cracks were increasing in number, as though it was about to explode. Qing Tiandi hurriedly threw the shield in his hand into the air. Boom boom boom. The forgotten shield exploded in the air, forming a gigantic mushroom cloud. The terrifying shockwave instantly descended, uprooting all of the trees, creating a terrifying scene. Even though Soulless had been repelled by the shield, he had still managed to shatter an ancient god artifact with a single punch. One could imagine how monstrous the current Soulless was. What did you want to say? Li Hun asked curiously. Qing Tian was embarrassed. He had wanted to brag about his shield, but it had been destroyed by a single punch. She was indeed a powerful woman. My shield is actually not the most powerful weapon, Mighty Heaven and Earth said in a deep voice. In fact, the forgotten shield was one of his most powerful weapons, and it could easily turn the tables. However, this woman was still able to stand and speak after being counterattacked. She must be pretending, but she had actually suffered internal injuries. She was quite good at acting. Did she really think that I, Mighty Heaven and Earth, wouldn't know? Spirit Beast Berserk Art. Mighty Heaven and Earth was still stable. He did not want to reveal too much of his abilities, lest he was discovered. If necessary, he would have to pretend to be weak. Mighty Heaven and Earth threw out a piece of parchment, and with a flash of light, a large bull's head could be seen floating in the air. That's right, it was a bull's head, but this bull's head was incomparably large. It was panting heavily, and its nostrils were emitting hot streams of air. Soulless looked at it and felt disgusted. Especially the mucus under the bull's mouth. It actually had a corrosive effect on the ground. Umph. This is an ancient beast, the demon girl. Looks like you're finished. Mighty Heaven and Earth felt that it was about time. The forgotten shield and the spirit beast berserk art were his secret weapons, but they had been used up to deal with the demon girl. He hoped that it would be effective. If it was in the past, it would definitely be effective. Even if Soulless did not die, she would still be seriously injured. Especially the counterattack of the forgotten shield. It was not something that an ordinary person could withstand. If it was not for the problem of hardness, it would definitely be able to counterattack 100%. Friends in the audience. Did you all see this? This man actually summoned an ancient beast. My God, this is the first time I have seen this kind of spirit beast. Even though it is flying in the air, I still feel a trace of fear in my heart. Looks like the demon girl is really going to die. Right after the host finished speaking, Soulless could be seen fiercely taking a look at the bull's head, and a pair of beautiful eyes were released. Death gaze. The bull's head could be seen pausing for a moment, and that expression on its face changed from excitement to fear. Afterward, without even thinking, it ran away. Which person is so lacking in morals to actually summon this Lord Bull to fight a monster? And furthermore, it is the kind that cannot be defeated, bastard. Right now, Mighty Heaven and Earth's brain was a bit lacking. The ancient beast that I summoned actually ran away. How is this possible? Didn't we agree on 100% loyalty? These four liars. To actually lie to me. It is not that Brother Bull's loyalty is not high enough. Rather, it is that Soulless death gaze is too terrifying. This is the difference in strength. With just a single look, you will know the consequences. Right now, the scene changed to the escaping bull's head. The host didn't know how to continue the conversation. This is so awkward. Mighty Heaven and Earth's face was very bad, and he forcefully explained. That bull just now was given to me by someone else. I am not very familiar with it. It is one thing for you to cut my clothes. Furthermore, you even brought such a disgusting thing over. Soulless immediately erupted. Mighty Heaven and Earth did not expect that this woman would actually start fighting just like that, completely not following the rules of the pugilistic world at all. To even give the other party a warning before fighting. Mighty Heaven and Earth did not dare to be careless. Once again, he took out an ancient god equipment and smashed it onto the ground, causing a purple mist to immediately spread out. Very quickly, Mighty Heaven and Earth put on a gas mask. This gas version of an ancient god equipment was very rare, and it took me a lot of effort to obtain it. Originally, I planned to save it for when I need to save my life, but right now, I have no choice but to use it. Demon girl, this is a highly toxic poison. After smelling it, my entire body will become powerless, and my 4 limbs will become stiff, and I will no longer be able to move. That's why it is called 4 limbs killer. Mighty Heaven and Earth was very proud of himself. Chapter 653. Li Hun, who was standing beside Qing Tiandi, said, "Oh, there is such a poison in the world? In that case, you have to taste it yourself." After speaking, Li Hun opened up Qing Tiandi's hands and held his breath, looking like he was not going to breathe in the poison no matter what. Li Hun sneered, then directly punched onto Qing Tiandi's stomach. How could Qing Tiandi be able to hold his breath? Seeing that Qing Tiandi breathed in the poison, Li Hun felt relieved. Meanwhile, Qing Tiandi sneered in his heart. "Fortunately, I have the antidote, otherwise, I would have died here today." After taking out the antidote, Qing Tiandi revealed a complacent smile. "In the end, I, Qing Tiandi, am going to win against Qing Tiandi." Just as Qing Tiandi was drinking the antidote, a huge shadow rushed over and knocked onto Qing Tiandi's arm. Meanwhile, Qing Tiandi looked at the antidote being smashed into pieces, and the bull head had already disappeared. How did this happen? That was the only antidote, and it was actually smashed into pieces by the spiritual beast that I summoned. Why am I so unlucky today? How could something like this happen? Qing Tiandi could feel that his 4 limbs were gradually becoming stiff. Being poisoned by my own ancient godly equipment, if this matter were to spread out, it would be a joke. More importantly, my antidote was actually smashed into pieces by the ancient ferocious beast that I summoned. I didn't look at the almanac when I went out today. If I had known earlier, I would have come another day. Gradually, the smoke dispersed and Li Hun's figure appeared. Qing Tiandi's figure also appeared. Qing Tiandi could already feel that his 4 limbs had become stiff. Fortunately, that demon woman's situation is the same as mine. This is truly a blessing in misfortune. This can be considered as perishing together with the demon woman, right? Demon woman, we are also unable to move now. There will be people coming over to kill you soon. Qing Tiandi had a way to recover, otherwise he would have long exploded from anger. How could he still be so calm? When these words fell on the streets and alleys, there were real cheers this time. This man had really taken care of the witch. This is truly satisfying. Quickly send people over to kill the demon woman. Don't let any more accidents happen. A trace of an evil smile appeared on the corner of Li Hun's mouth. Who told you that I am the same as you? Drifting Soul waved her hands and even spun around. She was so beautiful that her dress was dancing in the air. Do Fusher decided that when he got back, he would have a good talk with him. In the future, don't wear skirts and twirl in circles. Be careful not to expose yourself. Li Hun was still able to spin in circles, and his jaw was about to drop to the ground. Why was this woman perfectly fine? She wasn't wearing a gas mask, and she had even spoken just now. How could she not have inhaled it? This was impossible. The people who were still celebrating enthusiastically just now collapsed in an instant. Today's mood was like sitting on a roller coaster, going up and down, terrifying to the extreme. How did you do it? Qing Tiandi was unwilling to accept this. They had already perished together, so why were you completely fine? Li Hun pursed her cherry lips. Perhaps this is strength. You won't understand. Qing Tiandi was speechless. Despair. The men were all in despair. We are still unable to defeat this woman even after all this. Why does the heavens treat men like this? It's time to settle the score for cutting my clothes and disgusting me. Soul Departing walked in front of Qing Tian with a sinister smile. Qing Tian, who couldn't move his limbs, hurriedly said, "Don't come over. Let me tell you, you will regret this." Soul Departing laughed lightly, then directly punched onto Qing Tiandi's face, causing his chin to become crooked. Meanwhile, Qing Tiandi was just like a cannonball, crashing into all kinds of buildings and raising up a large amount of dust. This was a one-sided abuse. Meanwhile, Qing Tiandi's figure was flying around in the amusement park. Soul Departing's attack was very accurate. She definitely didn't take Qing Tiandi's life. Looking at Qing Tiandi being completely abused like this, everyone became lifeless. If only there was someone who stood out right now. Perhaps it was the heavens that heard the people's cries. In the sky above the amusement park, a golden light actually flashed, and the golden light immediately dispersed the darkness. The scene immediately changed to this mystical scene. The host was stupefied and he shouted out with a lisp, "Audience friends, there's a sudden movement in the clouds. Could it be that a celestial is about to appear? Seems like the heavens didn't abandon us. A celestial is about to descend." This time no one cheered. Who knows whether or not we will be pressed onto the ground by the demon woman later on. It has already happened so many times, and we are truly unable to endure such a blow. Suddenly, silhouettes appeared in the clouds. They were dressed in golden robes and silver armor, and they stood in 3 rows, forming an arc coupled with the golden special effects. They looked like celestial soldiers and generals. Even though the auras that the 1,000 people gave off were not as terrifying as soul hibernators, they were filled with light and righteousness. All of their faces were brimming with confidence because they knew that they were here to put on a show. The scene then switched to a few flags. When they saw the words on the flag, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. These people are actually voidless realm experts. An existence even more terrifying than this demoness. The host was rendered speechless. He originally thought that it was reinforcements, but it turned out to be another demon. This time, it was Tang Yu who led the troops here. His armor was different from the others. It was completely golden, and there was a lifelike dragon pattern on his chest. He gave off a very righteous feeling and didn't look like a bad person. Soul Soaring put down the heaven and earth in his hand. At this moment, the heaven and earth had been beaten beyond recognition by Soul Soaring. If those 4 people saw the heaven and earth in this state, they would definitely be extremely excited. "Who are you? Do you want to kneel down and lick my high heels?" Drifting Soul shouted. Naturally, she knew that this was little Dauda's mission. All she had to do was to cooperate well. Naturally, she couldn't be too pompous. If little Daudu was punished, her heart would ache. Dofusher looked at the crowd in the sky and thought to himself, his honor's extravagance is quite impressive. There are at least a few thousand people here, right? It looks very spectacular. Demoness, you have already violated Voidless Realm's law by bringing disaster to the common people. Today, my Voidless Realm shall bring you to justice. I am enforcing justice on behalf of the heavens. It had to be said that Tang Yu's current performance was pretty good. His handsome appearance had captured the hearts of many young ladies. Qing Tian, who was already on the verge of death, cursed at Voidless Realm's shamelessness. Voidless Realm, just you wait, sooner or later, I will kill you all. Li Hun suddenly let out a seductive laughter. Another group of people who enforce justice on behalf of heaven. Wait until I kill all of you one by one. Then I will know what is Tao. Everyone didn't even have the time to react to what just happened. Isn't Voidless Realm a bad organization? Why would they come to arrest him? This was too strange. However, they wouldn't make wild guesses until the end. Chapter 654. Soul Departing lightly flipped her hair. Just this small action alone caused a commotion in the hearts of many men. When this woman is beautiful, her action of flipping her hair is simply incomparable. Dofusher felt deeply proud. My little Soul Hun is obedient, strong, and most importantly, she is beautiful. Her figure is also extremely good. In my heart, she is a perfect woman. However, when he thought of the 2 madams, his little Soul Hun's temperament and aura lost quite a bit. However, this is also normal. The 2 madams are the 2 madams. How can I compare them? Isn't this just courting death? In my heart, my little Soul Hun is the most perfect woman. Soul Departing indeed has this kind of charm. Even if I am facing Voidless Realm right now, I won't feel any fear. However, this is all just an act. As the subordinate of a supreme overlord, if I don't even know how to act, I won't be able to do it. Soul Departing coldly looked at Tang Yu who was in the sky, and a 5-colored divine sword appeared in her hand once again. The aura of Voidless Realm's 1,000 people clashed against Soul Departing's aura. Soul Departing fought against 1,000 people by himself. This courage was indeed admirable, especially for those who were watching the live broadcast. Yihua looked at Soul Departing and smiled. This acting is not bad, don't you think so? Humph, Qingye and Donghuang Baiji expressed their unhappiness. Look at Yihua today. He has already praised us countless times, but you have never praised us like this before. Yihua also felt helpless. What is this jealousy? This soul departing is indeed not bad. She is comparable to Zishan, and in the future, she will be one of the two main forces. I feel that these two women are more reliable than their own men. I can be at ease and assign some tasks to them. Tang Yu, who was in the scene, was also shocked. I didn't expect this woman to be so powerful. Fortunately, she is one of us. If she is an enemy, we have no chance of winning at all. Of course, this is only in terms of strength. If she takes out the treasure given by the Empress, then Tang Yu could be seen stretching out her palm. A purple forest pagoda appeared on her palm. This purple forest pagoda was also one of the items in Yihua's collection, and it was more than enough to deal with soul departing. When the purple forest pagoda appeared, a loud sound immediately rang out in the sky, causing everyone's ears to ring. A five-colored cloud floated in the sky, emitting light. That threatening aura carried a ferocious momentum as it struck towards soul departing. When Li Hun saw the violet forest pagoda in Tang Yu's hand, her beautiful eyes narrowed. This wasn't an act, she was truly shocked. The things that Qing Tian took out were all toys, nothing to be afraid of, but the treasures that this person took out were indeed enough to make him feel fear. Demoness. Today, Voidless Realm will let you see what is righteous. Tang Yu shouted out lightly. Soul drifting away came back to her senses, and the five-colored divine sword in her hand shone brightly. Let's see who's the righteous one. White Moon Sky Dance. Following Soul Lone Cell's shout, she seemed to be dancing, and waves of massive sword energy rampaged about her surroundings. As Soul Lone Soul danced, she gave off a massive spiritual pressure, and the ground seemed unable to withstand the pressure, and it began to collapse. Pink, mist-like sword energy swirled around Soul Lone Soul. Tang Yu's gaze sank, and in an instant, she threw out the violet forest pagoda in her hand. The pressure coming from the ancient artifact was even more terrifying, and the size of the pagoda gradually became bigger as well, enveloping the top of Soul Lone Soul's head. The terrifying aura caused Soul Lone Soul, who was below, to be unable to breathe, and she was incomparably shocked in her heart. Just what kind of treasure is this? From the aura that the pagoda is emitting, it should be a treasure from the ancient era. Let's see just how powerful this treasure is. Following Soul Lone Soul's shout, countless five-colored divine swords successfully condensed, and with a world-destroying might, the five-colored divine swords flew towards the violet forest pagoda in the sky. Tang Yu shouted out, "Descend." The violet forest pagoda that was floating in the sky could be seen descending with a majestic might, and at this moment, Soul Lone Cell's body was instantly suppressed by a bit. Under the might of the violet forest pagoda, the sword intent that was emitting a majestic aura earlier completely dissipated. Soul Lone Soul found it hard to believe that she was actually unable to retaliate at all under the might of the violet forest pagoda. Soul Lone Cell's expression of unwillingness and fear was captured on the screen. This wasn't an act, this was what Soul Lone Soul was thinking. Boom. The purple forest pagoda landed on the ground and collected soul departing. Do Fushir was extremely nervous right now. Would little Soul Hun be alright? This pagoda looked really powerful. Your Honor, Soul Hun is one of us. Don't be too fierce. Everyone watching the live broadcast held their breath. They didn't want to see the female devil break out of the tower. Tang Yu once again stretched out her palm, and the purple forest pagoda flew over to her side. The pagoda became smaller and smaller, and when it entered into Tang Yu's palm, it immediately disappeared. At this time, the camera switched to Tang Yu. Tang Yu also knew that she was still looking at the camera. The radiance of Voidless Realm will envelop the entire land. No one is allowed to slander Voidless Realm's glory. Long live the Empress! The thousands of soldiers behind her shouted in unison, "Long live the Empress!" When this sentence reached everyone's ears, their minds became a bit muddled. The first thought that came to everyone's mind was that Voidless Realm was a good person, and that Voidless Realm was being framed by someone. All along, no one from Voidless Realm came out to give an explanation. However, this time, when Voidless Realm came out to give an explanation, they immediately got rid of a scourge. Isn't this enough to explain everything? Everyone in the plaza cheered again. Long live Voidless Realm. Long live your majesty. May the Empress live for 10,000 years. People are all like this. Whoever can give them a happy life, they will recognize that person as their boss. This time, Voidless Realm was able to do this, and it made everyone's opinion of Voidless Realm change. Who cares about Voidless Realm schemes? In any case, Voidless Realm helped Voidless Realm to get rid of the crisis. Yihua pursed his lips, then stretched out his hand and smacked onto Donghuang Baiji's perky butt. What are you doing? It hurts. Donghuang Baiji said shyly. Yihua said faintly, I'm trying out the feeling of empresses, but it feels pretty good. The Empress was quite angered by her husband, and after a snort, she turned her head around and ignored Yihua. Tang Yu waved her hand, and Voidless Realm's soldiers disappeared from the sky. Everything returned back to normal. And other than the amusement park that was destroyed and God supporting heaven and earth that was destroyed, everything returned back to normal. Seeing that Voidless Realm had left, Dofusher immediately left as well. Alright, everything has been settled. I even gave that God supporting heaven and earth a good beating, so the two of you should be able to calm down now, right? Yihua pinched onto the cheeks of his two wives. And the two wives turned their faces away and threw a tantrum. Yihua didn't stop them from throwing a tantrum. They were women, after all. After all, throwing a tantrum at an appropriate time would be able to adjust their emotions. Let's go and take a look at today's hero. Yihua stood up and walked towards the outside of the plaza. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji hurriedly followed after Yihua, fearing that their husband might have cheated on them. Yihua was only admiring the attitude of soul separation when they were working, so how could he possibly have any thoughts about it? Chapter 655. Right now, I only have some thoughts about my sister-in-law. Adultery is a very interesting thing, and it is very hard for ordinary people to experience it. After all, one must first have the guts to do it, and one must also be prepared for the consequences of being exposed. Yihua arrived at the peak of the mountain, and Tang Yu and the others quickly appeared in front of him. Although Yihua was standing at the front, these people were serving the Empress, and in their hearts, the Empress was the master of Voidless Realm. Thus, they shouted out in unison, "Greetings to your majesty, greetings to Lord Yi." Qingye didn't have a position in Voidless Realm, so they didn't know what to shout out. Donghuang Baiji's expression changed and she said faintly, "You all did well." Everyone half-kneeled on the ground and shouted out, "To serve your majesty, we will not hesitate to die." Tang Yu respectfully handed over the Purple Forest Pagoda. Yihua waved his hand, and the pagoda landed on his hand. "I have to release Li Hun from the pagoda. Don't suffocate to death inside." Along with a flash of golden light, Li Hun's body appeared on the ground, and she seemed to have fainted. Since Li Hun was kept by the Purple Forest Pagoda, she would definitely suffer some damage, but in order to make the effect look more realistic, Yihua took out this treasure. Yihua threw out a golden light from his hand, and the golden light wrapped around Li Hun, and gradually, Li Hun opened her beautiful eyes. Yihua said faintly, "Don't move, just stay here." Li Hun took a look at Yihua confusedly. Sensing that the golden light was healing her, she sat cross-legged on the ground. Donghuang Baiji signaled Tang Yu to leave first. Tang Yu knew what to do, and she immediately left. Not long later, Wei Chong brought Dofusher to Voidless Realm, and the two kneeled on the ground one after another. "Subordinate greets your honor and madams." Yihua said lightly, "Stand up." Wei Chong and Dofusher stood up, and when Dofusher saw that Li Hun was sitting cross-legged and seemed to be fine, he felt relieved. "Dofusher, you have to treat Li Hun well in the future, understand?" Qingye said sternly. Donghuang Baiji added, "If we find out that you treat her badly, we will break your legs." Dofusher's face was completely dumbfounded. He had no idea why his two wives would have such a reaction. It seemed like they were treating him very specially. Could it be that soul departing had performed too well? "Don't worry, I will definitely take good care of Li Hun." Dofusher would of course take good care of Li Hun. Yihua was slightly gratified. This great battle of floating world could be considered to be the one dragging the entire team down. However, his wife was ranked at the top of the team, and could be considered to have pulled up the average value of the team. Not long after, the golden light disappeared and drifting soul slowly opened her beautiful eyes. When she saw Dofusher, her expression changed immediately. Little Dodo, Soul Leaf turned into a beautiful figure and hugged Dofusher. She even kissed him passionately. Dofusher was so frightened that he started shivering. Little Soulhun, you have to look at the timing first. His honor is still here, this is too sloppy. Yihua also didn't expect that soul departing would be so open-minded. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji were also a bit surprised. This is too passionate, isn't it? Thinking about how I and Yihua haven't been this passionate for a very long time. Seems like we are indeed an old married couple, and some of the passion has already disappeared. Wei Chong hurriedly coughed a few times. If the two of you want to be intimate, then go back home. To actually do it in front of his honor and me. Dofusher finally released Soul Depari from his embrace, then hurriedly cupped his hands and said, "Subordinate has lost self-control." Soul Depari held onto Dofusher's arm with a complacent look on her face. Dofusher hurriedly poked Soul Depari. At the very least, we shouldn't be this intimate in front of his honor. Soul Depari pouted her mouth and let go of Dofusher, then looked at the man in front of her, and the purple forest pagoda that was in Dofusher's hand. Soul Depari, you did well today, I admire you. Yihua praised Soul Depari with words. This caused even Wei Chong to feel envious. It has been a very long time since his honor praised me. Soul Depari still didn't understand the value of praise, and thus she could only say, "Thank you, your honor." From today onwards, the two of you will stay in Voidless Realm for the time being, and do not show your face. Yihua said faintly. Soul Depari definitely cannot leave Voidless Realm. If she were to be discovered by Yihua, all of Yihua's efforts would be wasted. After all, Soul Depari was just too outstanding, and the plum blossom imprint on her forehead was also very easy to recognize. The two said respectfully, "Yes. Go and rest." Yihua said lightly. Hearing that Yihua was going to let them go, Soul Depari became extremely excited. She pulled Dofusher and ran madly while shouting out loudly, "Little Daodu, I want it." After Yihua and Wei Chong heard this, the corner of their mouths twitched. This woman is indeed unrestrained. Your honor, subordinate will return first, Wei Chong said. Yihua nodded his head. After Wei Chong left, Yihua looked at the two women and said gravely, "Look at how sensible Soul Depari is. The two of you are really making me." Yihua didn't know what to say anymore. To think that I would actually be depressed by my underling. Look at how proactive Soul Depari is, and what about you two? It's as if you two are afraid that I will make a single move. Sai's sister-in-law is still the best. Looking at their husband leaving, Qingye and Donghuang Baiji stamped their feet. Your wife, we are still pregnant. What else do you want to do? It's not like we haven't accompanied you before. Qingye, it seems like after we give birth to this child, we have to properly stabilize Yihua. Donghuang Baiji said solemnly. All men have needs, and we can't possibly let the Supreme Overlord fulfill his dreams with his own hands, right? Qingye nodded her head. And when the time comes, we will do it together. Yihua will be happy. Of course he will be happy. He wants to do it even in his dreams. When the two women thought of that scene, they felt a bit embarrassed. Right now, Yihua went to look for Qin Yutong to have a clandestine love affair. Yutong is becoming more and more favored by me, and her skills are also becoming more and more proficient. If Yihua were to be given a score, Qingye and Donghuang Baiji could only get a total of 100 points, while Qin Yutong alone would get a total of 100 points. After all, both Qingye and Donghuang Baiji were on the side of enjoyment, and they wouldn't take too much initiative. On the other hand, Qin Yutong was different. She would do her utmost to make Yihua feel comfortable. That's why, no matter how good a wife is, it is still not as good as a sister-in-law. On the other side, Wang Debao and Bai Cixin ordered people to clean up the battlefield. Qing Tiandi, who was hammered unconscious, was sent to the People's Hospital for treatment. However, everyone seemed to have forgotten about this brave warrior who was hammered unconscious, and all of them were shouting, "Long live Voidless Realm." Very quickly, Qing Tiandi woke up and asked Dofusher to bring him back. Why did he come to the hospital? Lunatics. Do cultivators even need to go to the hospital? What are your brains made of? After transporting Qing Tiandi into the house, Feng Tian, who was wrapped up like a mummy, came to Qing Tiandi's house to take a look. Chapter 656. Feng Tian took a deep breath, turned around and walked out of the room. Qing Tian's mentality was much better than Feng Tian's. They were both beaten up by a woman, but why was there such a big difference? Yi Zizi was just a child, which made Feng Tian feel ashamed to be defeated by a child. Qing Tian didn't look disappointed, and it was normal. Wang Debao and Bai Cixin were confused. How could he maintain such a mentality after being beaten up like this? Qing Tian naturally had his reasons. You guys go out first, Qing Tian said. Wang Debao tried to persuade him. Brother Qing, don't be discouraged. Don't do anything stupid. Qing Tiandi was infuriated by these words and bellowed, "Scram!" Wang Debao was relieved. This was a normal reaction. The couple walked out of the bedroom, and Qing Tian frowned. After a long time, he took a deep breath, as if he had made a decision. The quilt on Qing Tian's body was lifted, and the bandages on his body exploded. The color of his limbs was black. How vicious! Qing Tian's eyes focused. A pair of Qilin arms floated in the air, emitting terrifying spiritual energy. Thick blue veins could be seen on the sturdy muscles, and there was a tattoo on the arms that shone with red light. Suddenly, another pair of feet appeared. It was obvious that the feet belonged to an animal, but they were definitely not Qilin feet. They looked more like pig trotters. Don't be fooled by the appearance. These were treasures that Qing Tian got. They were the feet of an ancient divine beast, and their power was shocking. In fact, Qing Tian had wanted to change them for a long time, but he didn't have the guts. Now that his limbs were crippled, he had to change them if he wanted to stand up. Looking at the floating limbs, Qing Tian made up his mind and released a strong wind. Whoosh! Whoosh! Qing Tian used his own wind to cut off his limbs, and the white bed was instantly dyed red. Qing Tian frowned, gritted his teeth, and didn't say a word. Under Qing Tian's control, the limbs fell down and connected to the wounds. A green curtain of light surrounded the joints of his limbs. Holding up the heavens, Tiandi closed his eyes and attentively experienced this huge power. After an unknown period of time, heaven and earth suddenly opened their eyes. If anyone saw them, they would definitely be shocked. That was because those eyes were no longer the pupils of a human, but those of a feline. Even though it was a little ugly, its strength was dozens of times greater than before. If he were to face Soul Wandering again, he would definitely be able to crush her with a single punch. Standing up, Yi Zichen looked at his own legs and hooves. This was a little hard to accept, but what else could he do? This hatred. He had to report it. Heaven and earth clenched his fists tightly, causing the air to explode. It could be seen that heaven and earth's strength had reached an unimaginable level. Meanwhile, Qing Tiandi stood up for a bit, then continued to lie on the bed, seemingly wanting to pretend to be disabled. He was indeed a scheming man. Wang Debao and Bai Cixin were already in the car. They were shocked to see how badly the Titan King had been tortured. Honey, what do we do? The Righteous Alliance and the Peace Association are going to take the blame. Wang Debao was very worried, because Voidless Realms people said that I was framed. Who framed me? It is definitely those two organizations. Voidless Realm did not stand out to explain because they felt disdain towards Voidless Realm. At the same time, Voidless Realm had also displayed their absolute strength. Voidless Realm easily solved the problem that the two organizations were unable to solve. Bai Cixin was also deeply aware of this point. Right now, heaven and earth is most likely done for. Furthermore, a lot of higher-ups died this time, and heaven and earth's strength had instantly dropped by a few levels. Voidless Realm is so strong, how is it possible for me to defeat them? I am unable to defeat Voidless Realm at all. If I want to defeat Voidless Realm, I definitely have to find another way. At this moment, Bai Cixin thought of Bureau Chief Shi. I wonder if he has a way to defeat Voidless Realm. Honey, what are you thinking about? You can't be thinking about how to defeat Voidless Realm, right? Wang Debao was very worried about his wife. I am unable to defeat Voidless Realm at all. Seeing that his wife was not saying anything, Wang Debao continued to persuade. Honey, Voidless Realm is indeed cruel to us, but you have also seen it today. Their strength is already far beyond our imagination. Who knows if there is someone even more powerful than them? It is better for us to swallow this humiliation. If Bai Cixin had listened to her husband's persuasion, the following tragedy definitely wouldn't have happened. Debao, I can't swallow this humiliation. I really can't swallow this humiliation. A single sentence from Voidless Realm ruined my entire life's hard work. I am unwilling to accept this. Bai Cixin's hatred towards Voidless Realm was already very high. If I don't get revenge for Voidless Realm, I reckon that I won't be happy for the rest of my life. Hearing what his wife said, Wang Debao knew that he wouldn't be able to persuade his wife. Meanwhile, Bai Cixin took out her phone and called Shi Jingao. Bureau Chief Shi, how about we meet? Bai Cixin said gravely. Shi Jingao was currently playing a QQ game, and when he heard Bai Cixin's words, a trace of a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Alright, where is it? High Ocean City Plaza's KFC. Alright, I haven't eaten hamburgers for a long time. After hanging up the phone, the husband and wife headed straight to KFC. On the way, Wang Debao and Bai Cixin didn't speak. Bai Cixin, who was driving, said lightly, Debao, I'm sorry. Wang Debao let out a light breath, then squeezed out a smile. We have already been husband and wife for so many years, there is no need to apologize. Debao, let's divorce. In actuality, Bai Cixin had thought about it for a very long time. If her husband were to follow her, he would only be implicated by Voidless Realm. Against a huge machine like Voidless Realm. If Voidless Realm is even slightly careless, Voidless Realm would end up dying without a burial ground. Her husband had sacrificed too much for her. Wang Debao was dumbfounded when he heard that. His expression turned ferocious. Bai Cixin, what bullshit are you talking about? Is your brain filled with shit? Debao, you should know what I mean. I'm just too domineering, Bai Cixin said helplessly. I just like how strong you are. I'm cheap, okay? Wang Debao angrily rebuked. They had been husband and wife for so many years, yet she actually wanted him to leave at such a crucial moment. How could she be a coward? When Bai Cixin heard her husband's words, tears flowed out of her eyes. She stopped the car by the roadside, sat on her husband's lap, and kissed him madly. She was even pulling up his pants. F***ck, wife, calm down, this is the side of the road. Wang Debao exclaimed. Did she have to be so fierce? Bai Cixin could be seen waving her hand, and the entire car seemed to have become invisible. Then the car continued moving forward. Honey, you even have an appointment with Director Shi? It's okay. You're fast. Wang Debao was speechless. Chapter 657. However, when he saw his wife leaning down, Wang Debao exploded. 5 minutes later, Bai Cixin continued to drive, and Wang Debao's face was filled with despair. I can't live on anymore. Meanwhile, Bai Cixin, who was driving, had a trace of a smile on her face. The two arrived at KFC very quickly. Bai Cixin held onto Wang Debao's arm and walked into the KFC. The two looked like a perfect couple. However, Wang Debao's mood wasn't very good. I was too fast just now. The main reason is because my wife has great martial arts. The two chose a seat, ordered some things, and waited quietly. Wife, I feel that Bureau Chief Shi won't be able to do anything to Voidless Realm. Wang Debao said faintly while eating a French fry. Bai Cixin drank the cola and said softly, let's ask him first. Wang Debao nodded his head. I can only do this for now. In just a few minutes, Shi Jingao appeared. Today he was wearing formal clothes, a black suit, and looked very spirited. Miss Bai, Mr. Wang. Shi Jingao greeted with a light smile, then sat opposite of the two. He didn't stand on ceremony and took a bite of the chicken burger. It feels pretty good. Bureau Chief Shi is so handsome today. Bai Cixin laughed. Facing a beauty's praise, I usually won't be modest. Shi Jingao laughed lightly. Wang Debao's face sunk. He actually dared to tease my wife right in front of me. Bureau Chief Shi, I will just say it directly. Bai Cixin didn't care about this. Taking down Voidless Realm is the main thing. Shi Jingao placed down the burger in his hand and asked curiously, Miss Bai, did you encounter some difficulties? My request is a bit too much, but I still want to ask Bureau Chief Shi. Shi Jingao was also very curious. What request? Bureau Chief Shi, do you have any opinion on Voidless Realm? Bai Cixin asked in a low voice. Shi Jingao's brows gradually wrinkled, then laughed lightly. My space-time branch is only in charge of catching illegal immigrants, and it doesn't participate in worldly fights. Oh, so that's the case. Then, sorry for disturbing Bureau Chief Shi's time. Bai Cixin revealed a look of disappointment. Shi Jingao isn't interested at all. Is Voidless Realm really that powerful? Shi Jingao took the cola and took a breath. Miss Bai, do you want to get rid of Voidless Realm? That's right. Bai Cixin didn't hide anything and said directly. Then what can Miss Bai give me? Shi Jingao asked. When he heard this, hope flashed across Bai Cixin's disappointed eyes. Even Wang Debao, who was beside him, became serious. Bai Cixin asked happily. What do you want, Director Shi? Actually, what I want is very simple. I hope that the two of you can work under me. Bai Cixin and Wang Debao were a little stunned when they heard such a simple request, because it was really too simple. Compared to their own request, it was like heaven and earth. Bai Cixin asked earnestly. Bureau Chief Shi, do you have any way to bring down Voidless Realm? You don't have to worry about that. I have my own ways. Shi Jingao's expression was brimming with confidence. Bai Cixin and Wang Debao's hearts were in their mouths. I'm very curious as to how Shi Jingao is going to bring down Voidless Realm. Of course, Shi Jingao wouldn't rely on his own strength. That was impossible. But if it was the Chief Bureau Chief, then it would be a different story. Right now, Shi Jingao received a clear news that Chief Bureau Chief Ji Yang was coming over to inspect the work. I won't be able to explain my work, but I need a scapegoat, right? That Voidless Realm's Empress's man is a stowaway. Although his strength isn't clear, compared to the Chief Bureau Chief, his strength should be a lot inferior. Besides, this time, it's not like the Chief Bureau Chief is coming alone. I heard that there are a few higher-ups coming with him. With their strength, isn't it just a matter of time for them to bring down Voidless Realm? Of course, adding oil to the fire was inevitable. After finishing eating the burger in his hand, Shi Jingao wiped his hands and stood up. You two enjoy yourselves, I won't be accompanying you. Bureau Chief Shi, thank you. Miss Bai, I look forward to your performance in the future. After finished speaking, Shi Jingao left. The husband and wife took a look at each other, and their gazes were filled with doubt. Wife, this Bureau Chief Shi isn't lying to us, right? Wang Debao asked gravely. Because the matter was too simple to the point that they couldn't understand it. Bai Cixin also couldn't understand Shi Jingao, and she said lightly, what benefit does he get from lying to us? He only wants us to join him. That's right, why are these people so weird? I can't catch up with them at all. Wang Debao felt that Qing Tian was like this, and Shi Jingao was the same as well. I really can't understand the thoughts of these powerful individuals. Furthermore, to poke a hornet's nest for the sake of two strangers doesn't seem to be logical. Or could it be that Shi Jingao was planning to take action from the start, and I just happened to bump into the muzzle of the gun? The husband and wife seemed to have thought of the same thing, and they looked at each other with a surprised gaze. After living together for so long, Wang Debao and Bai Cixin had a telepathic connection, and they knew what the other was thinking. Seems like I was still too impatient. Bai Cixin shook her head. If Shi Jingao had planned to do this from the start, our request for help could only be said to be a delivery. Wang Debao hugged onto his wife. Forget it, if I am able to fulfill your wish, I am willing to do anything for you. Debao, why are you so good to me? Are you stupid? You are my wife. If I don't treat you well, who should I treat well to? Bai Cixin smiled tenderly and snuggled into her husband's embrace, feeling the warmth of his embrace. Yihua probably didn't expect that he would be able to meet an acquaintance so soon. And furthermore, it was an acquaintance that was so far away from him. Right now, Yihua was lying on the bed with a tablet in his hand, and Qing Yutong was pouting her small mouth while leaning on the bed. Brother-in-law, am I not as good-looking as a tablet? Qing Yutong asked sweetly. Looking at brother-in-law's side profile, he is simply too handsome. Yihua didn't reply and looked at the various big news. All of the headlines were in Voidless Realm's favor. There were even some people who said that Justice Alliance and Peace Association were useless, and that Voidless Realm still needed to step out and stop them during crucial times. There were also some people who said that these two organizations were big swindlers, causing everyone to misunderstand Voidless Realm. There were also some experts who suggested that those 300,000 people weren't killed by Voidless Realm, but rather, they were killed by the spiritual creatures in the desert. This kind of conclusion received the approval of many people. A large wave of trolls began supporting Voidless Realm, then started scolding the two organizations. This caused Yihua to laugh. Qing Tian, you want to fight against me, on what basis? With just a little bit of calculation, all of your schemes would have collapsed. What else can you do right now? If I were to make a move, you might die comfortably, but as long as I use my brain, you might not even know what kind of terror you are going to experience. Chapter 658. Yihua turned off the tablet, and in his mind, he was thinking about what God Qing Tian would do next. I am really looking forward to it. I hope that this God Qing Tian will not disappoint me too much, and that he will pull himself together and fight against me. Brother-in-law, in the end, you didn't even listen to what I said. Qing Yutong directly rode on Yihua's body, as expected of a female knight. Nonsense, come down. No. Are you coming down or not? Nope, nope, nope. Sometimes, Yihua quite liked Qing Yutong's fearless personality. If it was Qingya and Donghuang Baiji, they would have long since gotten off the bed, patting onto his sister-in-laws, but Yihua said in a low voice, "All right, quickly come down." This time, Qing Yutong knew that it was time to come down, and she showed that it was time to stop. Brother-in-law, big sister and big sister Baiji's palace is just beside us, aren't you afraid? Qing Yutong asked curiously, while her delicate hands tightly hugged onto Yihua's arm. Yihua sneered. Would I be afraid of them? What a joke. Really? Qing Yutong teased. Nonsense, I am a man with an indomitable spirit. There is no such thing as being afraid of my wife. Right after Yihua finished speaking, Qingya's voice rang out from outside. Yutong big sister has come in. Holy shit. Brother-in-law run. Yihua wasn't in a hurry to think too much. Picking up his clothes and shoes, he instantly disappeared from the bed. Not only that, he didn't forget to take away his tablet. Looking at brother-in-law's hurried expression, Qing Yutong held back her laughter. And you still say that you are not afraid? Brother-in-law was good at everything, but he was stubborn and liked to show off. Right now, Yihua was panicking to death. I've never panicked like this before, and I'm really scared now. This was the first time that Yihua felt such a peculiar emotion, and it caused Yihua to feel very excited. Is this the feeling of fear? As expected, this feeling is very powerful. I, the Supreme Overlord, am going to continue having a clandestine love affair. This is 2F** king exciting. Qing Yutong immediately lied down and pretended to be asleep. Yutong? Qingya looked at her little sister who was currently sleeping and called out lightly. As expected of a movie empress, Qing Yutong slightly opened her hazy eyes. Big sister, what's wrong? Have you seen your brother-in-law? Qingya asked curiously. Right after Baiji finished lecturing me, she and Baiji disappeared. I don't know where they went. Qing Yutong said helplessly. Why did you come over to my place to look for brother-in-law? I really have to give it to you. Qingya laughed dryly. All right, you are still sleeping in the middle of the day, quickly wake up. Don't want to, women should sleep more. Only then would they be able to maintain their appearance. Qing Yutong turned her body over and continued to pretend to be asleep. Qingya shook her head, then turned around and left. Right now, Yihua was currently sitting in the bedroom on the second floor of Leisure Bar. While wearing his clothes, Yihua had a panicked look on his face. If he was caught on the spot, they would probably want to kill him. After putting on his clothes, Yihua was thinking about where to go and stabilizing his state of mind. Right now he was still a bit anxious. Speaking of which, it has been a long time since I went to check on Absolute Heaven's situation. I wonder how he is doing now. They arrived at the Dongfang family's house. A strange sound rang out. This should be the miserable cry of a cat, right? Has Ju Tian woken up? Just when Yi Hua was feeling puzzled, a cat rushed up to the eaves of the house in a panic. There were 3 women chasing after him. Be good, Ju Tian. We will help you bathe, Dongfeng Yu Air called out softly. Brett glared at Ju Tian. Ju Tian, come down. Don't force me to come and catch you. Ju Tian, my little darling, quickly come into my embrace, Guan Yanxin said teasingly. Ju Tian stood on the roof and shivered. Ever since I woke up, the days have become more and more torturous. These 3 women are simply inhumane, to the point that I nearly suffered internal injuries. They even used fish to tempt me. Do they really think that I am a cat? Ju Tian, if you don't come down, I am going to get angry. Smell your body, you are smelling. Brett placed her hands on her waist and shouted out. Meow, Imperial translation. Scram. I don't want to come down. They even said that their body smelled, and that they had to bathe 3 times a day. Furthermore, they even used a super strong hair dryer. And their hair dryer made their heads dizzy. After the hair dryer was done, they would play with me and completely treat me as a pet. When I sleep at night, I nearly suffocate to death because of the 3 women. I really can't continue living like this. Ju Tian, you forced me to do this. Brett shouted out, and her figure flashed. Ju Tian, who had lost his strength, was completely at the mercy of Brett. He was completely not Brett's opponent. And Ju Tian was completely unable to escape. Ju Tian, who was being carried in Brett's embrace, shouted out for help. When he saw his honor's figure, it was as if he had seen hope, and his cry became even more ear-piercing. Brett and the other 2 women also saw his honor, and they immediately prostrated themselves on the ground and shouted out. Subordinates greet his honor. After Brett loosened her grip, Ju Tian ran towards Yi Hua without any regard for his life, then hugged onto Yi Hua's thigh while looking at the 3 women vigilantly. Savage. This is too goddamn savage. Why didn't I discover that they have such a fetish in the past? Seeing that Ju Tian was being bullied like this, Yi Hua felt at ease. Men, if they don't get bullied by women, they wouldn't know what their surname is. Just like me, do they dare to do this? Even if I gave them a few 100 times more courage, they still wouldn't dare to go against me. What happened just now was just a strategic retreat. What are you all doing? Yi Hua asked faintly. Brett said respectfully, Your Honor, we were just about to bathe Ju Tian, but Ju Tian isn't willing to bathe. Meow, Imperial translation. Your Honor, what they are doing isn't bathing, what they are doing is raping themselves. Ju Tian's body is about to be ruined by them. Yi Hua grabbed onto Ju Tian's neck and lifted him up, then said gravely, Ju Tian isn't even willing to bathe. What are you trying to do? Ju Tian was in despair right now. Looking at his honor's attitude, it seems like his honor doesn't plan to help me at all. Your Honor, I am your subordinate, the brains of the team. If I were to be ruined by them, how am I supposed to give you advice and suggestions in the future? Yi Hua tossed Ju Tian away, and the pitiful Ju Tian let out a miserable shriek in midair, then turned into an arc and landed into Brett's embrace. Thank you, Your Honor. Brett had a joyous look on his face as he pinched onto Ju Tian's cheeks, then held onto Ju Tian. Ju Tian felt that he was about to suffocate. This woman is completely taking revenge on me. If I am late, I will die in battle. Your Honor, you are about to lose your subordinate. Looking at the 3 women who were pinching onto Ju Tian's cheeks, Yi Hua paused for a moment. Ju Tian, you have been bullying others for so long, you should at least let them vent their anger, right? Don't blame me. I am doing this for your own good, Ju Tian. Listening to Ju Tian's miserable shriek, Yi Hua disappeared from the scene. I don't even know where he went. I feel very bored. I really wish that a powerful opponent would appear, but it's a pity that the heavens don't give me this hope, causing me to be unable to even fight against them. My strength is too weak. The only ones who are able to fight against me are my subordinates. Should I drag Yi Zizi over to fight with me? I am getting a bit bored. Chapter 659. After returning back to Leisure Bar, Yi Hua really went to look for Yi Zizi. Upon opening the door, Yi Zizi could be seen playing games, and at the side, a husky could be seen. Yun Lang now enjoyed this kind of life very much. He ate and slept and ate. At night, he would go out for a stroll and tease the female dogs. His days were carefree. This kind of situation was very similar to Lai Gu's situation at that time. What's wrong with being a dog? Don't feel like you're making a fool of yourself. You have to feel honored, and everything will be perfect. What game? Go and fight with me. Yi Hua, who was sitting at the side, said faintly. Yi Zizi slanted her eyes and looked at His Honor, then continued playing her game. Don't. Yi Zizi, your guts have grown big now, to actually dare to go against my order. Yi Hua said gravely. Yi Zizi went into a daze for a moment, then took off her earphones and threw herself into Yi Hua's embrace. Using her small fists, she pounded on Yi Hua's chest, then continued playing her game. All right, I'm done. Yi Hua. Yi Zizi. Yi Hua shouted out lightly. This is too outrageous. Your Honor, it's not like I can defeat you, so don't bully me. Yi Zizi would definitely not make a move against His Honor. What happened last time was an accident. That's why she went to attack His Honor without any regard for her life. Now that her brain has returned to normal, how could she possibly make a move against His Honor? This was insubordination, and he wouldn't be able to use his true strength in battle, which made it even more impossible for him to win. Yi Hua laid on his sister-in-law's bed and lit up a cigarette. He also knew why Yi Zizi didn't want to fight with him. Yi Zizi took a peek at His Honor, then said in a low voice, His Honor, we are already bored to death. We might as well head over earlier. Only then will we be able to start working on the other side. Yi Zizi's suggestion was indeed very tempting. It wasn't that Yi Hua didn't think about it before, but he wanted to wait until the children grew up before going back to the city. It was still too early for him to go back now. Play your game. The plan remains the same. Yi Hua said faintly. I don't have the mood to smoke anymore. After extinguishing the cigarette, I actually lied on the bed and went to sleep. Yi Zizi sighed. Other than games, there was nothing else that could make her happy. She really hoped that these 5 years would pass quickly. It was so boring. Yi Zizi wasn't the only one who felt this way. All the other subordinates felt the same way. They were bored to the point of exploding, and their bodies were uncomfortable. In the following month, Yi Hua continued to be bored. From time to time, he would have a clandestine love affair with his sister-in-law, looking for excitement, then wait for others to come and look for trouble. But here came the problem. Right now, Voidless Realm's image is right. In other words, since no one came to look for trouble, why would I bother to do anything? Although I made Qing Tian feel pain, it also made me feel very gloomy. This is truly annoying. I can only look for my sister-in-law to vent my anger. Right now, Qing Yutong was especially good at making Yi Hua happy. She was as obedient as a kitten, and she would do whatever Yi Hua wanted her to do. Qing Yutong was completely enjoying the life of a goddess, and this was a happiness that Qing Yutong was unable to enjoy with Qingye and Donghuang Baiji. Qing Yutong is completely different from Qingye and Donghuang Baiji, and this made me rather happy. I didn't take this sister-in-law for nothing. However, Qing Yutong was gloomy. After doing so many things, brother-in-law just doesn't want to take a look at me, and this is very annoying. He only cares about his own comfort, and doesn't even think about his sister-in-law's feelings. And on this day, something big was about to happen. The people from Time and Space Administration came to inspect the work, and Shi Jingao brought everyone to respectfully wait for the arrival of the bureau chief. However, what no one expected was that the location of the Time and Space Administration's office was actually very ordinary, and it was just an ordinary office building. 3 Qian could be seen driving over from afar, and Shi Jingao became even more reserved. Williu, who was behind Shi Jingao, had his head lowered, and was sizing up the bureau chief with his peripheral vision. I wonder what kind of person the bureau chief is. As the Qian steadily stopped downstairs, Shi Jingao took the lead and walked out of the Qian, and opened the door of the Qian. After that, a few guards came down from the Qian, and the guards who were dressed in clothes that were not too fashionable. 2 familiar faces walked down from the Qian. If Yi Hua was here, he would definitely recognize them. One of them was the Bureau Chief of Time and Space Administration, Ji Yang, and the other one was one of the 3 Martial Kings, Zhuanghong. This planet sure is backward. After Zhuanghong got off the Qian, he said lightly with a look of disdain on his face. After hearing what Zhuang Hong said, Shi Jingao didn't know what to say. However, thinking about how Shi Jingao was able to sit in the same car as the bureau chief, Shi Jingao's status should be very high. Hello bureau chief, I am the person in charge, Shi Jingao. Shi Jingao said respectfully to Ji Yang, who remained silent. Before Ji Yang could say anything, Zhuang Hong, who was at the side, said with a smile, Shi Jingao, this name of yours is a bit interesting. Shi Jingao had an awkward look on his face. This time, he really didn't know what to say. These people are definitely not people that he can afford to offend. Ji Yang stood with his hands behind his back and said indifferently, lead the way and go in to take a look. This way please, bureau chief. Shi Jingao leaned forward and said. Ji Yang and Zhuang Hong walked at the front, and behind them were the guards. Of course, there was also Shi Jingao, Wu Lu and the others who were trembling with fear. Zhuang Hong walked beside Ji Yang, leaned forward and said, to think that you would want to come and visit this kind of trash planet. You are really suffering. Can you not speak? Ji Yang frowned. Originally, coming out for an inspection had nothing to do with Zhuang Hong, but the president insisted that Zhuang Hong come along with him. He said that it was to take care of Zhuang Hong, but in actuality, it was to monitor Zhuang Hong. Seems like after that incident, the president's trust in me has plummeted. This is not good at all. When I came out for an inspection, the president even sent someone to follow me and chattered nonstop on the way. Zhuang Hong laughed and said disapprovingly, Bureau Chief Ji, if you have a burning temper then go and settle it. Although this planet is a bit backward, there are still women here. Don't hold it in. Ji Yang took a deep breath. He was obviously very angry. Seeing that Ji Yang was so angry that he did not speak, Zhuang Hong did not continue to be angry. It was enough to stop. Shi Jingao followed behind and heard a little. Who was this man? He actually did not care about Bureau Chief Ji, and Bureau Chief Ji seemed to be unwilling to pay attention to him. But was he unwilling to pay attention to him? Or did he not dare to pay attention to him? Shi Jingao could not figure it out. It was better not to care about these high-level matters. He just had to prepare his next words. The group of people went upstairs under the strange gazes of others. Bureau Chief Ji, please. Bring me to see, Ji Yang said lightly. Shi Jingao originally wanted to curry favor, but he did not expect Bureau Chief Ji to directly want to see his work situation. It seemed that he was not so easy to fool. The group went straight to the office. Bureau Chief Ji, please sit, Shi Jingao said respectfully. Ji Yang sat on the boss's chair and opened the system with great familiarity. He slowly checked. Shi Jingao stood at the side, trembling with fear as he waited for the lecture. Zhuang Hong sat at the side, drinking tea with a smile on his face. Bureau Chief Shi, Ji Yang said lightly. Shi Jingao was shocked and hurriedly asked, what instructions does Bureau Chief Ji have? There is a problem with your work. Ji Yang turned off the system and sternly reprimanded him. Chapter 660. This was within Shi Jing'ao's expectations. Were the people he caught all these years small? Sheathing the saber, fearfully helping to dispel evil. Retraction? Pull out the vinegar arpeggios ring from Gamma? Fine wood convex aluminium. Shi Jing'ao hurriedly explained. Director General Ji, you might not know this, but there's a lack of manpower here, and the benefits aren't good. So many people aren't willing to work here. The higher-ups said that they're going to distribute equipment, but we haven't seen anything yet. You haven't sent it yet? Ji Yang asked in a deep voice. Yeah, I've been dragging it out. Zhuang Hong laughed lightly. This time and space branch of yours is really corrupt. There's a level of scam, and there's no more scam after reaching here. Or could it be? Bureau Chief Ji, what about you? Zhuang Hong. That's enough. Ji Yang shouted at Zhuang Hong. He didn't know how many bad things he would say to the president this time. Director Ji, why are you angry? This is normal. Zhuang Hong ignored it and continued. Ji Yang wanted nothing more than to stab Zhuang Hong to death. Shi Jing'ao seemed to know something. Could it be that this man was here to supervise? Therefore, Director Ji did not dare to provoke him. After a while, Ji Yang calmed down and continued to ask. Even if there were problems with the equipment and benefits, there shouldn't be such a small result. Director General Ji, you may not know this, But although this planet is backward, it is located in the center of space-time chaos. Countless illegal immigrants choose to come here, so the situation is very complicated. There are countless powerhouses, and our branch has also suffered heavy casualties. Hearing Shi Jing'ao's words, Zhuanghong smiled disdainfully. What powerful people! That's just an excuse. No matter how powerful the smugglers are, they are more than enough to deal with them with your strength. Could it be that Director Ji allowed them to do as they pleased? Bang! Ji Yang slammed the table. Zhuanghong, do you believe that I won't sue you in front of the president? Yo, you're already angry? Looks like you have a guilty conscience. Shi Jing'ao felt that his chance had come. He said respectfully, Sir, it's true. There are many powerful people on this planet. It's not a lie. Oh, can you give me an example? Zhuanghong asked curiously. Voidless Realm is the strongest power on this planet, and there are stowaways within Voidless Realm as well. However, I can only watch from the side. Shi Jing'ao seemed like he wanted to pat on his chest and shout out that he was powerless. Zhuanghong crossed his legs and said with a smile, Chief Ji, your subordinate is in trouble, so you should help him out no matter what. I've been here for the past few months, and I've been bored out of my mind. Why don't you exercise a little so that you can show off your power in front of your subordinate? Ji Yang's chest heaved up and down. He really wanted to chop off Zhuanghong's head, so that the world would be at peace. When Shi Jing'ao heard what Voidless Realm said, he felt very comfortable in his heart. If the two of them were to take action, they would definitely be able to bring down Voidless Realm. As for why Shi Jing'ao wanted to get rid of Voidless Realm, it was because Shi Jing'ao felt that Voidless Realm's prestige was getting bigger and bigger, to the point that Voidless Realm's prestige had even surpassed Space-Time Branch. In the past, the three big powers were all silent and didn't pay any attention to Voidless Realm. And everyone felt that they were all on equal footing. However, the situation right now was different. Voidless Realm was already in an overwhelming situation. And this was something that Shi Jing'ao did not want to see. Therefore, he wanted to borrow other people's hands to bring down Voidless Realm. This way, his position would be much more stable. This was actually a kind of psychological stability. After all, Space-Time Branch cannot be exposed, but Shi Jing'ao did not want to see other people become stronger, because that would make him seem very incompetent. Are you done talking? Ji Yang shouted gravely. Zhuanghong drank a mouthful of tea with an indifferent expression on his face. That branch's chief, do you think what I said just now is correct? Shi Jing'ao hurriedly shut his mouth. It's better for me to not get involved in this kind of fight between deities. However, I still approve of what Zhuanghong said in my heart. I just want you guys to take action, but I can't say it out loud. How could Ji Yang possibly get involved in this kind of work? However, hearing what Zhuanghong said, Ji Yang felt extremely displeased. Furthermore, recently, I have already been suppressing a stomach full of anger. Even if I don't teach this Zhuanghong a lesson, I have to teach someone else a lesson to vent my anger. Sure. Zhuanghong, you go and practice. A hint of fierceness flashed past Ji Yang's eyes. If I were to be sacrificed during the fight, that would truly be a pleasant surprise. Thinking up to here, Ji Yang seemed to have made a decision. If I were to let this Zhuanghong go, this Zhuanghong might say bad things about me in front of the president. I might as well just get rid of him. Furthermore, I was the one who suggested this. It is inevitable that there will be deaths and injuries during the fight. When the time comes, if I were to make a move, this Zhuanghong will definitely lose his life on this so-called trash planet. With our Chief Ji taking action, all of the problems will not be a problem. What do you think, Chief Ji? Zhuanghong laughed lightly, and a trace of malicious intent could be seen hidden within the depths of his eyes. From the looks of it, this Zhuanghong was not only here to supervise the fight, there seems to be some other purpose in it. This Ji Yang wants to kill Zhuanghong, and this Zhuanghong might also want to kill Ji Yang. Or this might even be the president's order. If not, why would this Zhuanghong keep provoking Ji Yang? Therefore, there should be some sort of conspiracy. Shi Jing'ao is definitely unable to understand the reasoning behind this. As long as they are willing to go, it will be fine. There is nothing to worry about. Of course, with Chief Ji taking action, everyone will have to give way. Shi Jing'ao naturally had to bootlick Ji Yang. Getting a promotion is not a delusion anymore. Ji Young asked gravely. What is the background of this voidless realm? Voidless realm is one of the 3 big powers on this planet, and their history is very long as well. The leader of voidless realm is a woman, and her man is a stowaway. Hearing that, Zhuang Hong laughed loudly. Their history is very long. Is it as long as ours? Shi Jingao said respectfully. Naturally, their history is not as long as ours. Ji Young stood up and said gravely. Then let's go and settle this matter. I'll let you exercise your muscles and bones. Let's go and stretch our muscles and bones. Zhuang Hong stood up and shrugged his shoulders. Shi Jingao said hurriedly. Chief Ji, don't you need to understand the situation a bit more? Without waiting for Ji Young to speak, Zhuang Hong said straightforwardly. Understand the situation? Is that a dangerous place? Or is it a place of no return? Young man, you are thinking too much. In the entire Milky Way galaxy, who is able to? Before Zhuang Hong could finish speaking, he froze. Ji Young sneered. Who is able to? The corner of Zhuang Hong's mouth twitched slightly, and very quickly he thought back to that day. That day was the day of national humiliation. The entire Blue Blaze planet was suppressed by a single man, and the entire Blue Blaze planet was unable to retaliate at all, and even the president was forced to kneel down. Just what kind of humiliation was that? It was practically like putting down one's dignity and fiercely rubbing against the ground. Looking at the two's reaction, Shi Jingao was very puzzled. What is going on? Fear and unwillingness seemed to be present on their faces. Lead the way. Ji Young said faintly. If Ji Young were to know that the person he is messing with this time is that man, his expression would probably be very interesting. Chapter 661. Within Voidless Realm. Right now Yihua was in Qing Yutong's palace. In the past month, the amount of time that he spent with his sister-in-law was more than the amount of time that he spent with his 2 wives. Seems like Qing Yutong really knows how to make men happy. Brother-in-law, is it comfortable? Qing Yutong bit onto her cherry lips and asked sweetly. Yihua enjoyed it very much and said faintly, Not bad. Recently my technology has improved again. I don't feel anything when it is slightly heavier. All right. Move down a bit, and then a bit more gently. Yihua closed his eyes, and he seemed to be really comfortable. Qing Yutong followed Yihua's instructions and moved downwards, then asked, Brother-in-law, is it comfortable? Yes, very comfortable. Hehe, this is a newly learned martial art. Qing Yutong was very complacent, and began to show off. Yihua sighed with emotion. If only your big sister and Baiji were half as attentive as you, I wouldn't have ended up like this. If big sister and the others are interested, then wouldn't I not have a chance? Qing Yutong pouted her mouth. Yihua said gravely, Don't talk, do your work properly. What? What's the relationship between me giving you a massage and me talking? Yihua could be seen sitting on the chair, while Qing Yutong was standing behind him and lightly massaging with her hands. Of course it's related. I have to experience it carefully. Qing Yutong slightly lowered her head and whispered into Yihua's ears. Brother-in-law, how about we go to the bed? Yutong has learned a lot of tricks. The corner of Yihua's mouth twitched as he said helplessly. Are you trying to suck me to death? Right when Qing Yutong was preparing to act coquettishly, the sound of Qingye and Donghuang Baiji's footsteps rang out from outside the door. The two of them maintained the same posture, and it seems like they did not do anything shameful. Seeing the appearance of her husband and sister, Qingye went into a daze for a moment, but very quickly, she adjusted herself. This kind of thing had happened before, and it was nothing more than Yihua letting his sister massage his shoulders, exercising his right as a brother-in-law. What are you rushing over here for? Yihua picked up a grape, peeled off the skin, and placed it into his mouth. Yihua slightly wrinkled his brows. It seemed like he was a bit sour. Qing Yutong was also tactful, and when she saw that her big sister had arrived, she also sat at the side. Donghuang Baiji sat beside Yihua and said while holding onto her forehead, Some people are knocking on the door. Oh, knock on the door? For you to be able to walk all the way here and knock on the door, it seems that your strength is not bad. Yihua felt that things were getting a bit interesting. He lightly waved his hand, and a white fog could be seen appearing in front of him. Gradually, an image appeared within the white fog. More than 10 people could be seen attacking Voidless Realm's barrier. Oh, these 2 people look a bit familiar. Have we met somewhere before? Yihua looked at Ji Yang and Zhuang Hong and asked. I really feel that I have met them before, but I'm not sure. It was no wonder. Back then, when Yihua was stirring up trouble in Cerulean Planet, he was so far away, and he only paid attention to that president. Who would have the time to pay attention to anything else? At most, he would only take a glance at it and not take it to heart. I also feel that I have seen it somewhere before, but I just can't remember where. Qinya wrinkled her eyebrows, and her mind was trying to recall. Donghuang Baiji, who was at the side, also had the same feeling, but she just couldn't recall what it was. It seemed that the 3 of them only remembered the president, and didn't know anyone else around them. After all, who would remember a salted fish? Let me take a look as well. Qing Yutong also ran over to take a look at the screen. However, how would Qing Yutong know? That time when Qing Yutong went to travel, she was still playing games at home. After looking at the screen for a long time, Yihua and his 2 wives were still unable to recall anything. At this time, Donghuang Li and Yi Yan suddenly ran into the room. The 2 little fellows were currently sweating profusely and gasping for breath. Daddy, Mommy, what are you 2 looking at? Donghuang Li jumped into her father's embrace. Yi Yan didn't hesitate either, and he squeezed onto the side as well. Donghuang Li looked at the people on the screen and cried out in surprise. Ali knows these 2 people. Yihua went into a daze, then looked towards his daughter who was in his embrace. Where did Ali see them before? Daddy, don't you remember? Back then, when we went to that planet to play, we saw those 2 people. Seems like the memory of children is quite good. Yihua suddenly slapped onto his forehead and immediately remembered. It's them. Donghuang Baiji cried out in surprise. Qinya became even more confused. How did they find this place? Yihua was also very surprised, and at the same time, he was also very impressed. I didn't expect that they would actually find my base of operations, and furthermore, they only brought such a small amount of people with them. Did they come prepared? Or did they come because their confidence is off the charts? It shouldn't be, right? Wasn't the lesson that we gave them last time not enough? Even if they are here to take revenge, the scale of the people that they brought with them is indeed too small. Qingya mumbled. Qing Yutong cried out in surprise. Aya, what happened when you 2 went to play last time? It seemed to be very interesting. Why didn't you bring me along? Donghuang Baiji laughed lightly. What do you mean by not bringing you along? You were clearly the one who wanted to stay at home and play games. Yihua lightly stroked onto the hair of the 2 little fellows, then said with a light smile, Seems like they don't know that I am here. As for why they came, I am also very curious. Play. Qinya blinked her mischievous eyes. Yihua nodded his head, and the 3 looked towards Qing Yutong simultaneously. This caused Qing Yutong to cross her arms in front of her chest. What are you all trying to do? Outside of Voidless Realm's barrier, Ji Yang, Zhuang Hong, and Shi Jingao were standing at the side, and a group of guards were violently beating up the barrier. However, these kinds of attacks were completely unable to cause any damage to the barrier. Zhuang Hong looked at the huge barrier in front of him and said lightly, Seems like this barrier is indeed quite strong. This kind of barrier is one of the best in our world. Although Ji Yang didn't like Zhuang Hong, he also agreed with what Zhuang Hong said. The strength of this barrier had already surpassed his imagination. In fact, this kind of barrier wouldn't even appear on other planets. Shi Jingao said respectfully at the side. The reason why Voidless Realm is able to achieve what it has today is closely related to this barrier. Even until now, no one has been able to break through this barrier. Zhuang Hong laughed mockingly. A mere barrier. Can it even stop my footsteps? You are truly thinking too much. Zhuang Hong could be seen taking a step forward and shouting out, Everyone get out of the way. The guards in front of Zhuang Hong hurriedly stepped aside. Shi Jingao was also very excited. I am about to see a big shot display his ultimate move, and I reckon that this Voidless Realm's barrier won't be able to withstand a single attack from him. Ji Yang crossed his arms in front of his chest and stood at the side, watching silently. Ha! Zhuang Hong shouted out angrily. and a huge amount of spiritual pressure was released from his body, which immediately set off a large amount of dust. Meanwhile, the spiritual pressure was still rising endlessly, and the yellow sand beneath Zhuanghang's feet began trembling, and the radius of the spiritual pressure was also becoming wider and wider. Shi Jingao looked at Zhuanghang dumbfoundedly. As expected, this person's strength is very strong. No wonder he is able to argue with General Director Ji, and furthermore, he is not weak at all. This person is much stronger than me. With a sinister smile on his face, Zhuanghang fiercely took a step forward with his left leg, and a wave of air immediately spread out to all directions. Meanwhile, his right fist that was placed beside his lower abdomen was emitting out a terrifying aura. Break for me, Sky Fiend Fist. Along with Zhuanghang's shout, a wave of spiritual energy that could shake the heavens suddenly erupted, and the spiritual energy that brought along a scorching hot aura crashed onto Voidless Realm's barrier. Chapter 662. Boom. A series of booming sounds rang through the world. Although Zhuanghang's fist did not make contact with the barrier, the pressure he unleashed struck the barrier, causing it to revert back to its original form and tremble slightly. Shi Jingao raised his hand and covered his mouth with his hand. His eyes were filled with shock. It was indeed awesome. With just a single punch, Voidless Realm's barrier shook, and it seemed like it was going to break apart. As expected of a higher-up, Ji Yang, who was at the side, quietly looked at Zhuanghang acting cool, and in his mind he was currently thinking, but Zhuanghang was very satisfied just now. He wanted to show the youngsters how big the gap was. I, Zhuanghang, am one of the 3 great martial kings of Blue Blaze Star. Zhuanghang stood up straight and clapped his hands. As long as I make a move, even the strongest barrier will be reduced to ashes. Shi Jingao almost stood at the side and shouted 666, but he quickly stopped himself and said, "Amazing." When Zhuanghang heard this, he chuckled. He didn't seem to mind, but he really enjoyed it in his heart. His vanity was satisfied. Voidless Realm's barrier could be seen to tremble slightly, and after a few seconds, the trembling stopped. Voidless Realm's barrier concealed itself once again. Zhuanghang. Shi Jingao. Ji Yang smiled and said, "Zhuanghang, looks like it won't work." This was a good opportunity to taunt Zhuanghang. Zhuanghang's complexion turned ugly. How could the barrier not break under his punch? As Zhuanghang roared, his body erupted with a spiritual energy that was even more powerful than before. Upgraded version Sky Killing Fist. The punch seemed to split the world. Shi Jingao's body was blown backward by the strong wind, and he had no choice but to show his strength to stabilize his body. Boom. Voidless Realm's barrier shook once again. Zhuanghang heaved a sigh of relief. We will definitely succeed this time. Amazing. Shi Jingao immediately clapped his hands and shouted. The surrounding guards also followed suit. From the applause, one could hear the awkwardness. In just a few seconds, Voidless Realm's barrier disappeared again. Zhuanghang's face flushed red as he clenched his fists tightly. He was actually able to maintain his original form in the face of his upgraded version of the Heaven Fiend Fist. There isn't even a bit of sign of cracking. It was unimaginable. Ji Yang clapped his hands and shouted. Zhuanghang, you didn't eat enough this morning, did you? Zhuanghang shouted coldly. I was careless just now. I'm going to be serious this time. Oh, is it a serious series this time? Then we shall wait and see. Ji Yang shouted loudly, a mocking smile on his face. Zhuanghang could feel it. He immediately got into a horse stance, and his eyes were solemn. This time he had to break through this damned barrier. How dare he embarrass himself like this? The yellow sand in the desert began to move slowly. With a loud bang, streaks of yellow sand shot into the sky. It was a magnificent sight. The veins on Zhuanghang's forehead bulged thick and large. Ultimate version. Sky Fiend Fist. As Zhuanghang shouted, a huge illusory figure appeared behind him. A huge fist carrying a terrifying aura smashed against the barrier. This time, Voidless Realm's barrier trembled violently, and it seemed like Voidless Realm's barrier would shatter at any moment. As for Zhuanghang, his breathing was a little hurried after using this move. Shi Jingao looked at it and immediately came back to his senses. He applauded again. Amazing. The guards also hurriedly applauded, their applause filled with helplessness and awkwardness. However, Voidless Realm's barrier did indeed tremble intensely, but 1 minute later, the tremble disappeared. This made Zhuang Hong feel uncomfortable. Just what is going on? Shi Jingyao was stupefied. This Voidless Realm's barrier is actually this powerful? Even an expert like Zhuang Hong is unable to break through it? I heard that back then when Ying family attacked Voidless Realm, the barrier broke through it. How did they break through it? Ji Yang was also a little puzzled. This Voidless Realm's barrier has already surpassed my expectations. For such a backward planet to actually have such a barrier, if I were to take it away, it should be a good thing. Just that I don't know just how strong the person inside is. Just as everyone was puzzled, a ray of light flashed past. Qing Yutong could be seen wearing a white dress, and she was shockingly beautiful. All of the men on the scene looked at Qing Yutong. There is actually such a woman in this world. Especially Zhuang Hong, this kind of trash planet actually has such an exceptional beauty. If I were to capture her back. Hee hee. Ji Yang deeply wrinkled his brows. He had a bad feeling. This woman is giving me a very familiar feeling, especially the aura between her eyebrows. I feel like I have seen it somewhere before. I have seen quite a lot of beauties, but the number of beauties that are as beautiful as this can be counted with one's fingers. If I must count them, then they should be those two that I met that day. Compared to them, this woman is not inferior at all, and in some areas she is even slightly better than them. Shi Jingyao searched for this woman's information in his mind. I don't recognize this woman at all, and she isn't the Empress either. Qing Yutong was a little angry in her heart. It is precisely because of these people that Big Sister and Big Sister Baiji came over. If not, with my strength, I would definitely be able to coax and trick brother-in-law onto the bed and let brother-in-law be comfortable. Then I would be able to receive brother-in-law's praise. How great would that be? This group of bastards, they really came at the wrong time, ruining the secret affair between brother-in-law and me. Zhuang Hong stood up straight and laughed lightly. Humph. Seems like this barrier is going to be broken soon, to actually send people out to fight. Shi Jingyao shouted out. That's right. Afterward, he clapped his hands again. The guards at the back followed closely behind. Qing Yutong said tenderly, "You all are truly annoying. Just like a fly." Everyone's expression changed. This woman sure has a big tone. To actually describe us as flies. Who are you? Zhuang Hong pointed at Qing Yutong and shouted out. Shi Jingyao immediately shouted out. Quickly report your name. These two are big figures. You can't afford to offend them. Qing Yutong laughed in her heart. Can't afford to offend them? With this powerful brother-in-law backing me up, I will be able to mess with whoever I want to mess with. Young man, don't be so sure of your words. Back then, when I was your age, I was also indecisive. Qing Yutong smiled toward Shi Jingyao and said with a look of arrogance. Ji Yang appeared to be much calmer, and he asked indifferently, "Young lady, who are you? Who are you from Voidless Realm? Why do you all want to know who I am so much? Is this really important? You all aren't my cup of tea, so I'll gift you all a good person card." Everyone. Zhuang Hong was a little angry. When did a woman have the right to lecture me? Seeing that Zhuang Hong seemed to be about to make his move, Qing Yutong hurriedly shouted out, "Wait a minute. Before you hit me, I want to tell you. I am an existence that you cannot afford to offend. You better think twice before you act." Haha, what a joke. I can even afford to offend the heavens. Zhuang Hong roared towards the sky with an extraordinary aura. Chapter 663. Qing Yutong pouted her mouth, provoking the heavens. You can't even provoke my brother-in-law and big sister. After hearing that, Zhuang Hong laughed out loud again. Brother-in-law? Big sister? Ha 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 ha. Call them out, see if I don't hammer them into shit. Qing Yutong looked at Zhuang Hong dumbfoundedly, then suddenly clapped her hands. Damn, you are dead. You actually want to hammer my brother-in-law and big sister into shit. Humph. Of course, this old man never lies. Zhuang Hong was very arrogant. He even slightly raised his chin, seemingly wanting to prove himself. Qing Yutong looked towards Ji Yang and Shi Jingyao. What about you two? Ji Young didn't speak, feeling very bad. Seeing that Ji Young didn't speak, Shi Jingao didn't speak as well. Qin Yutong finally understood. Only this person wants to hammer brother-in-law and big sister into shit. Qin Yutong could be seen shouting out loudly, "Brother-in-law, big sister, did you two hear that? He wants to hammer you two into shit." Before Qin Yutong could finish speaking, her head was knocked. Ouch, Qin Yutong pouted her small mouth. It must be brother-in-law knocking on my head, I really can't hear it. Yi Hua stood behind Qin Yutong along with his two wives. However, when Ji Yang and Zhuang Hong saw those three familiar figures, their entire bodies stiffened. They even rubbed their eyes to make sure that what was in front of them was not an illusion. Why did they appear here? The entire Milky Way galaxy is so big, there are trillions of planets. How could it be so coincidental to meet them? Shi Jingao was a bit excited. Bureau Chief Ji, this is the Empress, and the person beside her is her man. Right now Ji Young wished that he could slap Shi Jingao to death. This man is the heavens. And you still dare to say that he is a stowaway. You must be tired of living. Qin Yutong obediently stood behind Yi Hua, and she even stood behind her big sister to show her status. In actuality, Qin Yutong didn't want to stand side by side with her big sister. This life is what I like. There is nothing better than having an affair with brother-in-law. Especially when she heard brother-in-law's happy moans. She felt especially satisfied and accomplished. I heard that you are going to hammer me into shit? Yi Hua asked faintly. Shi Jingao didn't seem to have noticed the change in the two of them, and he was extremely excited. Voidless Realm should be finished today. However, before Shi Jingao could react, Ji Yang and Zhuang Hong knelt down without hesitation. Seeing his chief bureau chief kneel, Shi Jingao was confused. What was going on? Why did CEO Ji kneel? Why was that? Ji Yang lowered his head, cold sweat dripping from his forehead. He had really seen a ghost today. He had actually encountered such a 1 in a trillion chance. Zhuang Hong was even more afraid. He had just said that he would beat them into shit. It was over. It was all over. Shi Jingao was confused and didn't dare to move. He quickly copied Ji Yang and obediently knelt down. When the guards behind them saw their boss kneeling, they hurriedly knelt down and didn't dare to raise their heads. Looking at the situation, Yi Hua sneered and said faintly, "No matter what, you all are my guests. Coming to my territory and giving me such a big greeting doesn't seem to be appropriate, right? Great Supreme Sir, we didn't know that you lived on this planet." Ji Yang's voice was trembling a little. He was extremely terrified. The things that happened in the past were still vivid in his mind. Facing the man in front of him, he couldn't bring himself to resist at all. Shi Jingao, who was kneeling on the side, widened his bell-like eyes. Supreme Sovereign. This man is a Supreme Sovereign. In my files he is only D rank or E rank. From the looks of it, my information is wrong. I am finished this time. I still wanted to take down Voidless Realm. I am going to die. If I am able to escape from this calamity today, I, Shi Jingao, will burn incense and pray to Bodhisattva every day. Yi Hua asked lightly. What if I knew? If I knew, I definitely wouldn't have come to disturb your cultivation. I deserve to die. Ji Yang begged for mercy again and again. In his heart, he was cursing Zhuang Hong and Shi Jingao. You only know how to not speak when something happens. Are you mute? Weren't you all very arrogant just a moment ago? That's right, you all deserve to die. Yi Hua's words caused the three to swallow their saliva. As long as this man says it, we definitely won't be able to escape. After pausing for a while, Yi Hua said again, I am also not the kind of person who would willfully kill the innocent. Everyone, even the three women who were standing at the back, were about to faint. This sentence of his is really too much. He is too good at acting. Being unrivaled is so lonely. Yi Hua sighed. Everyone was completely speechless. Damn it, I also want to be unrivaled. If you don't want to be unrivaled, why don't you give it to me? Qin Yutong likes brother-in-law when he is like this. I really want to press brother-in-law down on the bed and rub myself against brother-in-law. Qinye and Donghuang Baiji were helpless. Yi Hua likes to be like this. They are unable to stop him. After sighing for a while, Yi Hua asked gravely, how do you all plan to settle this matter today? Ji Yang's heart sunk. This is a very difficult question. If I answer it well, I will be able to live. If I answer it badly, I will die. Without waiting for Ji Yang to speak, Zhuang Hong hurriedly shirked the responsibility. Great Supreme Sovereign, it was all him. He was the one who was in charge of this operation, and we were merely helpers who didn't know what was going on. Is that so? Yihua looked towards Ji Yang and asked. Ji Yang's lungs were about to explode from anger as he pointed at Zhuang Hong and scolded. Bullshit. You were clearly the one who wanted to come. And now, you are actually saying that it was me. Don't you have any face? Great Supreme Sovereign, please believe me. My loyalty towards you can be witnessed by heaven and earth. Zhuang Hong clenched his fist and placed it on his chest. This was the greatest etiquette in Blue Blaze Planet. Qinya took out a stick of cigarette and lit it up. But just now, I heard that someone wanted to beat me into sh*T. How are you going to settle this? Zhuang Hong knelt a few steps forward, then hurriedly explained. It was my fault. It was a slip of the tongue. Zhuang Hong could be seen raising his hand and slapping his own mouth. His slap was very heavy. Every slap made a pa-pa-pa sound. And even his teeth were slapped off by himself. Right now, Zhuang Hong was only slapping his teeth off. But if a Supreme Sovereign were to come, that would be asking for his life. Thus, Zhuang Hong slapped his face with great care, and his entire face was slapped swollen. Yihua didn't shout for Zhuang Hong to stop, and Zhuang Hong continued slapping his face. Who are you? Yihua didn't pay attention to Zhuang Hong, and asked Shi Jingao. Shi Jingao was really frightened right now. Although General Manager Ji doesn't fear Zhuang Hong, he is still very careful around him. But looking at how Zhuang Hong is right now, I don't dare to lie at all. Shi Jingao lowered his head and said, Respected Supreme Sovereign, I am the director of the Time and Space Branch that is stationed on Earth, Shi Jingao. Time and Space Branch. That time when I was at Blue Blaze Planet, I seem to have seen the Time and Space Branch recruiting people, right? Yihua mumbled. Chapter 664. Oh, so you are the General Bureau Chief. Then he is your little brother. What are you here for this time? Yihua felt that this was too mystical. The jurisdiction of this Blue Blaze Planet is really surprisingly big. Replying to your honor, this time, I am here to inspect the branches of each planet. Then, why did you come to my place? Yihua asked faintly. Ji Yang said respectfully. My subordinate said that Voidless Realm is this planet's strongest power, and there are stowaways hidden in there. Zhuang Hong asked me to come over and help my subordinate solve the problem, which is why I disturbed your honor's cultivation. Hearing what Yihua said, Shi Jing'ao's face turned ashen. Even his legs that were kneeling down became a bit soft. Oh. Who is the stowaways hidden in Voidless Realm? Yihua asked lightly. Ji Yang didn't dare to say much, but since his honor asked, not saying anything would make him even more miserable. It is you, the great Supreme Overlord. Ji Yang said softly, as if he didn't dare to speak loudly. Oh. And how did you know that I am a stowaways? Yihua looked toward Shi Jing'ao. Shi Jing'ao's eyes revealed out deathly aura, and unknowingly he said, There is information on all stowaways, I will monitor them. Monitor? Is the hot pot restaurant outside of my bar your people? Yes. Shi Jing'ao didn't dare to lie at all and told the truth. However, the three women behind him were very confused. Yihua is a stowaways. What does this mean? Could it be that Yihua is a foreigner? Then why don't I see any trace of a foreigner? Yihua finally knew who was monitoring him. So it is the people from this Time and Space Branch. This is really unexpected. I didn't even notice it a few years ago. Your monitoring skills are pretty good. Yihua said lightly. This was his affirmation towards Shi Jing'ao's work. To be able to escape my eyes, I should feel honored. Shi Jing'ao hurriedly begged for forgiveness. Great Supreme Overlord, I didn't know, please forgive my crime. This is all work. It is inevitable that there will be casualties, Bureau Chief Ji, am I right? How would Ji Yang dare to say that he was wrong? Even if you say that poop smells good, I have to say that poop smells good too. Supreme Holy Light, please forgive my ignorance. Ji Yang only wanted to save his own life. He didn't have the time to care about the others. Even if he wanted to save them, he couldn't. Zhuang Hong was still slapping himself. His face was covered in blood, but he did not dare to stop. Yihua flicked the ash in his hand, and the ash slowly fell onto the yellow sand. Along with a gust of wind, the ash disappeared without a trace. Bureau Chief Ji, how do you think we should deal with them? Yihua asked in a deep voice. I, the Supreme Overlord, would never willfully kill the innocent. Ji Yang rejoiced inwardly, but he didn't show it. He said in a deep voice, committing such a serious crime can only be washed away with death. Oh, are you saying that they should all die? Yihua asked curiously. This kind of rule is really strict, to be able to use death to cleanse one's mistakes at the drop of a hat. On the other hand, the Supreme Overlord is much more benevolent. If a subordinate makes a mistake, at most, the Supreme Overlord would just scold them. Look at them, they died immediately. Ji Yang nodded. Yes. Shi Jingao, who was at the side, was completely paralyzed on the yellow sand, and there wasn't any color on his face at all. Today, I came to get rid of Voidless Realm, but I didn't expect that before I even entered Voidless Realm, I would have to die on this yellow sand. Zhuanghong, who was at the side, stopped slapping himself, and with bloodshot eyes, he stared fixedly at Ji Yang. F***K. You traitor. Zhuanghong. In front of the Supreme Overlord, you better show some respect. Right now, Ji Yang also knew how to flatter. Truly, when one is under the eaves of another, one has no choice but to lower one's head. You traitorous dog, I am going to fight you to the death. Zhuanghong already knew his fate today. Although I don't dare to take action against the Supreme Overlord, I can still take action against Ji Yang. Even if I am going to die, I am going to drag you along with me. Yihua didn't pay attention to Zhuanghong, and continued watching them fight. Zhuanghong had just consecutively punched himself 3 times and slapped himself for such a long time. His stamina and spiritual energy had long been unable to keep up, and his strength was greatly reduced. Right now he was only able to use half of his usual strength. Meanwhile, Ji Yang was at his peak condition. Before Zhuanghong could even finish his 3 moves, he was already bound by Ji Yang. Ji Yang, I will remember you, and you. I will be waiting for you in hell. Knowing that he was going to die, Zhuanghong didn't have anything to be afraid of. Scolding the Supreme Overlord sure feels great. It wasn't like he had never been scolded by others before. In the past, scolding others when you can't win against them was a common problem of humans. Then I might have to disappoint you. I am in charge of hell. You. Zhuanghong couldn't even think of any words to threaten Yihua anymore. Ji Yang took out a white revolver that was emitting out a faint orange light. With just a look, one could tell that the revolver was not an ordinary weapon. Soul Destroyer Gun. Zhuanghong cried out in surprise. Yihua slightly raised his hand, and the silver muzzle of the revolver was pointed at Zhuanghong's forehead. A terrifying aura was emitted out from the muzzle of the revolver. Zhuanghong, if you want to blame someone, blame yourself for angering the great Supreme Overlord. Ji Yang, you bastard, I will not let you off. Ji Yang didn't say anything else. His index finger lightly pressed down on the revolver, and the revolver could be seen spinning. Bang! A gunshot rang out on the yellow sand, and a bloody hole could be seen appearing on the center of Zhuanghong's forehead. With unwillingness and indignation in his eyes, Zhuanghong slowly fell onto the ground. After dealing with Zhuanghong, Ji Yang walked to Shi Jingao's side and slowly pointed at the back of Shi Jingao's head. Shi Jingao was badly frightened as he begged. Please spare my life, Supreme Overlord. I really didn't know that it was you. General Manager Ji, all these years, even if I didn't have any meritorious deeds, I have still worked hard. Can you please plead for me? Go on properly. Ji Yang didn't say anything else and lightly pressed down on Shi Jingao's head with his finger. Bang! Shi Jingao powerlessly fell onto the yellow sand, and that widened gaze of his was filled with unwillingness and deep regret. Not only that, Ji Yang continuously killed all of the guards behind him. He was indeed very vicious. After finishing everything, Ji Yang hurriedly knelt down, because he knew that it was very possible that the Supreme Overlord would kill him. However, what he did just now was to hope that the Supreme Overlord would spare him once. Although the hope was very slim, he still had to give it a try. Yihua pondered for a moment. If I were to kill all of them, it seems a bit inappropriate. Although I have offended the Supreme Overlord, this kind of punishment seems to be more or less enough. It is also good to let one of them go back and report the situation. Don't make it seem like I don't know what happened. You can go back. Yi Hua said faintly. He decided to let Ji Yang go. Ji Yang was exulted. Seems like my gamble was correct. Thank you, Supreme Overlord, for not killing me. Ji Yang spread out his arms and bowed. Yi Hua waved his hand, indicating that Ji Yang could scram now. Looking at Ji Yang like this is annoying. I hate people who admit defeat before even fighting. How would Ji Yang dare to stay for another step? He immediately turned around and prepared to leave. Chapter 665. Wait. The smile on Ji Yang's face froze. What was going on? The Supreme Exalt had spared him, but wouldn't his wife have done the same to him? That didn't seem to be a problem. Qinya asked. What do you mean by stowaways? Ji Yang felt that his heart couldn't take it anymore. He was almost scared to death. Madam, stowaways mean transmigrating or being reborn in another plane. This is against the laws of space. The existence of the Space Administration is to protect the laws. Ji Yang bowed slightly and said. Qinya had thought that Yi Hua came from overseas. I didn't expect that his background would be so big, to actually be a transmigration or a rebirth, to the point that even till today, I still haven't mentioned it. If this person didn't mention it, did he not intend to tell us? Dong Huang Baiji was also very depressed. My husband actually didn't tell me about such a big matter. He definitely doesn't trust me. The two wives secretly pinched Yi Hua's waist. Seeing this, Ji Yang immediately turned around and left. He couldn't look. If he looked too much, he would be silenced. Speaking of which, it was fortunate that Ji Yang ran away quickly. Yi Hua indeed had the intention to kill Ji Yang to silence him. The embarrassing state of a supreme overlord must not be known by anyone. When I return, I have something to ask you. Qinya said faintly. Yi Hua let out a light sigh. Seems like there are still some things that I have to tell them. That tragic life of hers is truly pitiful. The reason why I didn't tell you all is for your own good, lest you all love me too much. Qing Yutong left first, but she gave Yi Hua a deep gaze. Next time, I have to tell this story to Yutong alone. Now that his wife and sister-in-law were together, Yi Hua felt an indescribable excitement in his heart. This kind of feeling is truly great. However, he still had to tell them a little about himself. Should he reveal himself in front of them? I think it's better if I don't. That face is a bit too frightening. I'm afraid that you all won't be able to accept it. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji escorted Yi Hua to the bedroom and prepared to interrogate him. And when Yi Hua went back to his room, he couldn't help but sing. How lonely is it to be invincible? How lonely is it to be invincible? How empty is it to be invincible? To stand at the peak all by myself. The cold wind blows past me unceasingly, my loneliness. Who can understand me? Qingya. Donghuang Baiji. Yi Hua could be seen being pressed onto a chair by his two wives, then asked, Tell us, what else did you not tell us? Sigh. Yi Hua let out a deep sigh, creating a bleak atmosphere. Donghuang Baiji said tenderly, Yi Hua, stop pretending. Damn, it seems like they know my personality like the back of their hands. This is a very sad story. We have to talk somewhere else. Yi Hua said gravely, and his expression was on point. As expected of the best male lead, he is a first-rate expert when it comes to lying to his wife. Qingye looked at her husband's expression, and upon seeing that her husband wasn't pretending, her heart softened. Where do you want to go? Let's go to bed. Qingye. Donghuang Baiji. He was indeed a big pervert. He wanted to go to bed and chat in broad daylight. He had ulterior motives. Seeing that his wives didn't seem to be willing, Yi Hua had no choice but to say, Forget it, I will go out for a stroll. Seeing that her husband was acting shamelessly, Qingye and Donghuang Baiji were unable to do anything about it. Yi Hua, you are a supreme overlord, can you be a bit more serious? It's broad daylight. Donghuang Baiji said tenderly. Let's talk at night then. The two women were immediately at their wits' end. They wanted to know about Yi Hua's past too much. Did he transmigrate, or did he reincarnate? Women's gossipy hearts were burning. All right, but you can't lie to us anymore. Hee, I never lie to others. Hee. Yihua took the lead and laid on the soft bed. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji took off their clothes and leaned on Yihua's side, while wearing their pajamas. It is better to not wear clothes when talking about this kind of thing. Yihua. Forget it then, let's talk at night. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji almost fainted from anger. Having a husband like this, what else can we do? If you don't go along with what he wants, he will get angry, scold you, and even resort to domestic violence. This is too miserable. The two women only wanted to know about Yihua's past. Thus, they didn't say anything and took off their clothes under the blanket. If they want to know about me, how can they not pay a price? Although they can't touch me, they can at least have some fun. Yihua, why are you so dishonest? How could Qingye endure it? Just being touched by Yihua was already unbearable. Donghuang Baiji, who was at the side, was the same as well. It has been a long time since the two of them irrigated their flowers. After all, no matter how beautiful a flower is, without someone fertilizing it, it wouldn't be good. Yihua said lightly, hug me tightly. Seeing that there was a change in their husband's tone, Qingye and Donghuang Baiji went into a slight daze, then subconsciously hugged onto their husband. Feeling his wife's warmth, Yihua felt very comfortable. Thinking back to the past, this is a scene that I didn't even dare to think about. Actually, I came from another place. Yihua said slowly. This first sentence gave Qingye and Donghuang Baiji a huge shock. I didn't expect that my husband isn't a local. Then are you a transmigrator? Donghuang Baiji asked curiously. Yihua shook his head. I am a transmigrator. Transmigrator. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji knew what it meant to be a transmigrator. It meant that a transmigrator had died once. No wonder my husband's expression became so miserable, to the point that he didn't even tell me about it. So it turns out that he was afraid that I would be worried and blame Yihua wrongly. Deep guilt was released from Qingye and Donghuang Baiji's hearts. The two women hugged onto their husband tightly once again, comforting him mentally. Yihua's expression remained the same, but in his heart he was feeling very good. Look, just by being influenced by me a bit, you two are already like this. If I were to tell you everything, you two would still be obedient to me. If I were to learn from you Tong and do it to me, that scene would be so great. The reason why I didn't tell you two is because I was afraid that you two would be worried. Yihua continued speaking, bringing the sorrowful atmosphere to the highest point. Lightly hugging onto his wife's shoulders, Yihua said gravely, just like the other transmigrators, I was also killed by someone. Not only me, there was also Wei Chong Ligu, Yi Zizi, Brett Ju Tian, and two more that you two will meet in the future. All of us were killed by someone. Speaking up to here, a red light flashed past Yihua's eyes. This time he wasn't acting, he was really releasing his killing intent. Even after so many years had passed, that scene would still appear in my dreams sometimes. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji went into a daze. I really didn't expect that Yihua and his subordinates would actually be exterminated. Just what kind of powerful being was able to kill them? Chapter 666. Yihua stabilized his mood. Don't put on a look of wanting to beat and kill in front of my wife. It's not cool at all. I was born in a place called the Kangluo continent. The region there is very large, perhaps the size of Earth, but it is only the size of an empire there. There are all kinds of creatures living there, and I am one of them. Yihua felt that there was nothing wrong with what Yihua said. After all, I didn't say that I am a human. In the future, it would be more convenient for me to explain things to them, lest they say that I, the Supreme Overlord, lied to them. After all, I never lie. Yihua, where are your parents? Qingye asked with heartache. I didn't expect that my husband would have such an experience. I really shouldn't have been so willful. I don't have any parents. Yihua laughed at himself. I am not pretending at all. As an undead, I am just a skeleton that crawled out from the ground. However, since he crawled out of the ground, did that mean that he was once a human, but had become an undead? So her husband really didn't have any relatives. Yihua paused for a moment, then said, What I have is only you and the child. Yehua, looking at the heartache expression on his two wives' faces, Yihua expressed that he was very pleased. This is exactly the feeling that I want. Heartache, go on, let me see your heartache expression. Yihua, then, did you train hard to get to where you are now? Donghuang Baiji asked tenderly. I reckon that Donghuang Li and Yi Yan had already finished listening to Legend of the Skeleton. However, Yihua doesn't mind telling it again. Of course, no one is born a strong martial artist. No, except for Ali and Yin. Speaking of their children, Qingye and Donghuang Baiji revealed a smile on their faces. Ever since I appeared, I've been constantly being hunted down. It's very miserable. Yihua continued to act pitiful, wanting his two wives to feel sorry for him. Speaking of which, they had never felt sorry for him before, other than that time when he pretended to be paralyzed. Sure enough, after hearing what Yihua said, Qingye and Donghuang Baiji were about to cry. I, the Supreme Overlord, feel so good. This is the rhythm. Let's have something even more explosive. It can't be helped. People are jealous of outstanding people, so they want to kill them in the cradle. But I have always insisted on my belief that one day I will stand out and make those arrogant people pay the price. In the process of becoming stronger, I met with Wei Chong and the others. In actuality, they are also pitiful people. They were abandoned, hated, hunted down, and so on. After we got together, we formed a group, no, a team. I almost wanted to say that it was a girl group, but recently, Yutong had gotten used to talking about what girl group and so on. We will become stronger together and uphold justice together. Yihua felt that everyone's understanding of justice was different. To him, killing humans was his justice. For humans, killing oneself was also upholding justice. What exactly was justice? Who could say for sure? Yihua's voice gradually became gloomy. However, how can justice be so easily maintained? We were besieged by a group of old men. They joined hands to kill us one by one, and I watched as they fell one by one. There was nothing I could do. I really hate them. This time, his expression was a little deliberate and natural. The two wives didn't say anything and used their bodies to express their consolation. Fortunately, the heavens didn't let me die, and I came back to life here. After that, I met with you. At that time, my emotions were still very unstable, so I ignored you. Do you still hate me? Yihua tightly hugged onto Donghuang Baiji and asked lightly. Donghuang Baiji finally knew the reason. All of this was a misunderstanding. After receiving such a heavy blow, my emotions were definitely unstable. Yihua, I don't blame you. Furthermore, aren't we together now? Donghuang Baiji used her forehead to prop onto Yihua's chin. Donghuang Baiji was very obedient, and she looked a bit like Qing Yutong. Yihua was very gratified as he continued. Then there's Qingya. My temper isn't very good, and I scold people for no reason at all, and I even spank your butts. However, all of my actions are filled with love. So hitting people can be said to be filled with love. I've learned something. Perhaps it was because they were affected by the atmosphere. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji didn't refute Yihua's words, and they even said obediently, and we know, that's why we have always been accommodating to you. Do you two know what my greatest achievement in my life is? Yihua asked. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji slightly raised their heads and looked at their handsome husband. My greatest achievement in my life is not how powerful I am or how pretentious I am, but rather, meeting the two of you. If not for the two of you, I wouldn't know what love is. Furthermore, the two of you even gave birth to a child for me. I want to say, it has been hard on the two of you. I love the two of you. Hearing their husband's passionate confession, Qingya and Donghuang Baiji's eyes turned red. If I remember correctly, this is the first time Yihua said that he loved us. At this moment, I feel that I am so happy. Yihua revealed his true feelings. When the atmosphere was right, some words naturally came out from his mouth. In the past, I felt that saying such words would be very arrogant, but right now, I feel that saying such words is pretty good. Yihua said faintly. However, I am also a man. I can understand that the two of you are pregnant and don't allow me to touch you, but the two of you should understand. Qingya was also very troubled, and she consoled Yihua. After we give birth to our child, can we properly accompany you? Just bear with it for a few more months. Isn't Baiji going to give birth very soon? And, after I give birth to our child, I will accompany you. Donghuang Baiji didn't expect that her husband would be so pitiful. If I am still unable to satisfy her husband's small request, I will truly feel very apologetic. What the heck, after giving birth to our child, doesn't that mean that we still have to wait for a few more months? How can that be possible? I have a good idea. Let's settle this matter first. What do you two think? Yihua was a bit excited. If I were to succeed today, I would be able to feel great. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji naturally nodded their heads. Serving your husband is the duty of a wife. Even if it means climbing a mountain of swords, you will not hesitate to do so. Yihua whispered a few words into his wife's ears. After Qingye and Donghuang Baiji heard what Yihua said, their entire body became unwell, and they looked at Yihua in disbelief. My husband actually called the two of us like that. Go and die. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji shouted out at the same time, then immediately wore their clothes and ran out of the room. A rosy cloud appeared on Qingye's beautiful face. Yihua was speechless as he laid on the bed. My beautiful dream was shattered into pieces. Look at how the two women acted just now. I, the Supreme Overlord, only made a small request, and the two women actually turned hostile in an instant. This is making me feel very gloomy. From the looks of it, the heartfelt words that I said just now were all fake. From the looks of it, the path that I, the Supreme Overlord, still has a long way to go. However, my sister-in-law is still able to do it. From the looks of it, Yutong is still the best. These two women are too unreasonable. Chapter 667. Ji Yang escaped from Earth without any mishap, got onto the spaceship, and immediately left the solar system. This was simply too terrifying. Even now, his legs were still weak, and he felt that he had just walked through the gates of hell, and he was scared to death. Sitting on the pilot seat, Ji Yang still had to arrange the work on Earth. Since Shi Jingao died, someone has to take over this position. Looking at the name list, Ji Yang used his identity to issue an order to let Wu Lu take over the position of bureau chief. After everything was done, Ji Yang felt that he needed to sleep to calm down and think about how he should report the situation when he returned. In fact, it was very simple. I just need to tell the truth. Even if the president hears it, he will tremble with fear, and he might even praise my actions. If I really anger that person, the consequences will be even more unimaginable. Wu Lu was currently waiting for the bureau chief to return. He sat on the office chair and slowly turned around. After a long time, he still didn't receive a call from the bureau chief. Suddenly, the computer screen flashed, and a message seemed to have popped up. Bored, he hurriedly checked the message. When he saw the appointment of the bureau chief, Wu Lu was completely stupefied. This kind of surprise was not surprise, but shock. This kind of appointment can only mean one thing. That means bureau chief Shi is finished. Dead. Otherwise, why would such an appointment appear? And it was so sudden. It must be Voidless Realm. Voidless Realm killed bureau chief Shi. But why is the bureau chief still alive? Just what is going on? Wu Lu didn't understand, and he was completely confused. Could it be that even Time and Space Administration can't touch Voidless Realm? This is too shocking. Right now, Wang Debao and Bai Cixin were lying on the big bed. Bai Cixin's face was filled with satisfaction, while Wang Debao's face was filled with pride. As long as my wife doesn't use that move, my fighting strength is still very strong. After a long time, Bai Cixin said faintly, I wonder how is that bureau chief Shi doing? Wang Debao patted on Bai Cixin's shoulder and said gently, if he succeeds, he will definitely give you a call. But it has already been so many days, and there is still no news. I keep feeling that something unexpected happened again. Bai Cixin knitted her eyebrows, her eyes were filled with worry. If even Time and Space Administration can't deal with Voidless Realm, then who else can? There is basically no one who can deal with Voidless Realm. I'm afraid that I won't be able to take revenge in this life. I'm not resigned to fate. Wang Debao knew his wife very well, so he suggested, why don't we give her a call? Bai Cixin nodded, picked up the phone on the bedside table, and called Shizhingao. The number that you have dialed is power off. Bai Cixin stared at her phone in a daze. He turned off his phone. Wang Debao sat up and took the phone to make another call. The number that you have dialed is power off. The couple had a bad feeling about this. Something really happened, Bai Cixin muttered. There was a hint of despair in her eyes. Wang Debao quickly picked up his phone. Wife, don't worry. I still have Wu Lu's number. I'll call and ask. Wang Debao quickly found Wu Lu's number and immediately called him. Wu Lu quickly picked up the phone. Who is it? It's me, Wang Debao. Mr. Wang, what can I do for you? Wu Lu asked flatly without any emotion in his tone, as if he was talking to a stranger. Wang Debao asked directly, what's wrong with Director Shi? Why can't I get through to him? Mr. Wang, it's better not to contact him in the future. I'm the director now. After finished speaking, Wu Lu hung up the phone. Hearing the busy tone that came from the phone, Wang Debao's face stiffened a bit. What's wrong? Bai Cixin asked concernedly. Wang Debao shook his head. I'm afraid that Director Shi is already. Wu Lu is the director now. Hearing such news, Bai Cixin's face turned ashen as she laid powerlessly at the side with lifeless eyes. He really died. Even an organization like Spacetime Branch was unable to do anything to Limitless Realm, and even Director Shi died. That Director Shi was able to easily take out such a powerful primordial spirit. Yet he still died. If that's the case, I won't be able to move at all. Just a finger from Voidless Realm would be able to kill me. Wang Debao leaned against the bedside table. As a husband, I can't help my wife, and I even made my wife so sad. I'm really useless. Deep guilt lingered in Wang Debao's heart. After a long time, Wang Debao said lightly, Wife, let's forget about it. Let's not get involved anymore. Voidless Realm's strength is not something that we can control. So many people wanted to bring down Voidless Realm, but in the end, they all ended up like this. Bai Cixin did not reply to her husband, and her beautiful eyes stared at the ceiling. Debao, love me properly. After a long time, Bai Cixin raised her head and looked at her husband and said, Wang Debao had a bad premonition. Bai Cixin, what are you trying to do? Bai Cixin laughed lightly. Debao, you understand me. You know what I'm trying to do. Are you crazy? You are courting death. Wang Debao found it unbelievable. My wife is actually going to barge into the tiger's den by herself. Why can't I just live a good life? Revenge breeds revenge. Only by letting go of the resentment in my heart can I live comfortably. Even if I die, I will let Voidless Realm know my attitude. Debao, thank you for accompanying me for so many years. What I am doing is very selfish, and the person I am letting down the most is you. Can you forgive me for being willful this time? Bai Cixin was such a woman, and it could be said that she was the kind of woman who would do anything to achieve her goal. Even if she knew that she was going to die, she still had to use her attitude to express something. If she didn't express her attitude, what was the point of living? Obsession was scary, and a crazy obsession was even scarier. It would make a person not fear death. Just like the current Bai Cixin, in order to speak for me, she was willing to provoke an invincible existence. Wang Debao let out a deep sigh. My wife is very stubborn. Once she decided on something, it would be very hard for her to turn back. In actuality, I don't want to fight for anything. My biggest wish is to live with my wife, give birth to 2 children, watch them grow up, marry a wife or marry someone else, and live an ordinary life. This kind of fight is too tiring. However, my wife's thinking is completely different from mine. What she wants is the glory of standing at the top of the clouds. In order to fulfill my wife's wish, I will do my best to help my wife. No matter how unwilling I am, I will still do it. Because everything is worth it. For my wife, I am able to do anything. I will accompany you. Wang Debao laughed lightly. If my wife dies, what is the point of living? After so many years, I have already gotten used to her being by my side, gotten used to her being high and mighty. Chapter 668. Bai Cixin smiled. Hubby, let me go alone. I don't want to be a burden to others anymore. Wang Debeo pinched his wife's cheek. Are you saying that I'm an outsider? How can you be an outsider? You are the person I love. As the person you love, what's wrong with me accompanying you to a place? We have been together for so long, there should be an end to this, right? Wang Debeo spoke of this matter in a relaxed tone, which made the atmosphere a lot better. It was not so depressing. Bai Cixin lightly hugged her husband. You can even joke about such a serious matter. I'm really worried. If you're worried, I can stay by your side every day, as long as you don't hate me. Why would I hate you? The most successful thing that I, Bai Cixin, have done in my life is marrying you. The scene of Bai Cixin getting to know Wang Debeo appeared in her mind, and a slight smile appeared on her face. Wang Debeo was very excited. My wife finally confessed to me. Seems like I have to properly comfort my wife. Debeo, let's have a child. No problem, I guarantee that I will complete the mission. The husband and wife looked like they were chatting and laughing, but in actuality, they were not willing to show their pain to each other. They were both thinking for each other. If Bai Cixin could let go of the hatred in her heart and live a good life with Wang Debeo, that would be a very happy thing. The sky gradually darkened. Wang Debeo opened his eyes and realized that the beauty beside him had already disappeared. His heart immediately sank, and without even wearing his pants, he opened the door and went out. When he smelled a faint fragrance, Wang Debeo was startled. Debeo, let's go downstairs to eat. Bai Cixin held on to the dishes that she personally cooked and shouted towards her husband who was upstairs. Okay. Wang Debeo was very surprised. My wife rarely cooks, and the number of times that she cooks can be counted with one hand. After wearing his pajamas, Wang Debeo looked towards the dining room with a surprised gaze. 4 dishes and 1 soup. All of them are my favorite dishes. Bai Cixin carried the rice out, and with an apologetic look on her face she said, Debeo, we have been married for so long, but I have never cooked a proper meal for you. Am I very bad? Wang Debeo didn't say anything and hugged his wife tightly in his arms. His eyes were a little red. No, you are the best woman in the world. It is my honor to marry you. Bai Cixin snuggled into her husband's embrace and felt the warmth of her husband's chest. It was very warm and very comfortable. Bai Cixin really wanted to convince herself not to bother about those things anymore. But, I can't let it go. I really can't. After a while, Bai Cixin smiled gently and said, Alright, the food is getting cold. I'll let you hug me again tonight. Wang Debeo let go of his wife and grinned, but his eyes were red. Looking at her husband's behavior, Bai Cixin's heart was also faintly dying. She had never done anything for her husband in this life. If there was a next life, she would definitely be an obedient wife. His father and Bai Cixin sat at the dining table. Bai Cixin smiled and said, Try the stir-fried pork with green peppers I made. I haven't made it in a long time. I hope you won't mind. How could Wang Debeo dislike the food? He picked up the bowl of rice and started eating ferociously. And it's delicious, my wife. Your cooking skills are too good. In actuality, Wang Debeo didn't even know what the food tasted like. Bai Cixin looked at her husband wolfing down the food, and a layer of mist appeared in her beautiful eyes. Her heart was in pain. Hubby, let's go for a walk after we finish eating. It has been a long time since we last went for a walk after eating. Bai Cixin said tenderly and placed some food on her husband's plate. Wang Debeo said vaguely, And okay. Let's go to Happy Valley tomorrow then. I want to go on a roller coaster. Bai Cixin supported her chin with both of her hands, seemingly wanting to do all the things that she had never done before. Wang Debeo paused for a moment, then said with a smile, All right, we have never been to an amusement park before. Hubby, you won't blame me, right? How would I blame you? You didn't like to go to places like this in the past. You still dare to say that you don't blame me? Bai Cixin pouted her small mouth and acted coquettishly. Wang Debeo had never seen his wife act coquettishly before, and he was instantly stupefied. Wife, I was wrong. Accompany me properly tomorrow, if not, I will get angry. Wang Debeo laughed loudly. No problem, I will accompany you properly tomorrow. And eat a bit more. Bai Cixin didn't eat, and she kept on putting food into her husband's bowl. Her beautiful eyes were filled with happiness, but more than that, there was an apologetic look in her eyes. I'm sorry, Debeo. After dinner, the husband and wife drove to the riverside of Haigang City to take a walk. While enjoying the breeze, Bai Cixin held onto her husband's arm and lightly leaned against him. "Hubby, how about we raise a golden retriever in the future?" Bai Cixin asked. "And, wife, I thought that you don't like dogs," Wang Debao asked curiously. "I suddenly like dogs." Bai Cixin looked at the couple that was holding onto a samyet and taking a walk, and the couple seemed to be very happy. "Then, how about we go and buy one right now?" Wang Debao suggested. And, without saying anything further, the two immediately went to a pet shop and bought a little golden retriever. The little fellow was very excited. "I finally have a master." Bai Cixin hugged onto the golden retriever and lightly stroked onto it. "So cute." "It's good that you like it." Wang Debao also stroked onto the head of the golden retriever. The little fellow squinted its eyes, enjoying the stroking. After walking to the street, the husband and wife bought milk tea to drink. Just like any other young couple, there wasn't any difference. "It seems like I haven't bought clothes for a long time," Bai Cixin said. Wang Debao was very smart, and he immediately understood what his wife meant. "Let's go to the mall. We'll buy whatever you want." "Hubby, you are so nice." Woof, royal translation. "Big brother, I also want dog food." After arriving at the mall, Wang Debao seemed to have recalled something from the past. "Wife, do you still remember that time when I was chasing after you? I also came here." "Yes, I remember that you were still acting cool here. It was so funny." Bai Cixin laughed lightly. Wang Debao was very depressed. "How can that be called acting cool? It was obviously someone else who provoked me, okay? Furthermore, wasn't Act Tough Wang Xiao also chasing after you at that time?" "Then, do you know why I chose you in the end?" Bai Cixin asked softly. "Why?" Actually, Wang Debao was also very curious. At that time, Act Tough Wang Xiao was very strong. He was a big shot. On the other hand, he was only slightly rich, and Bai Cixin was so outstanding. Why would she choose him? "Because you are honest," Bai Cixin said softly. In her heart, her husband was very obedient, like a little puppy, basically listening to everything she said, and he also didn't fool around outside. Reality proved that her judgment was correct. Wang Debao was very helpless. "Wife, are you praising me or insulting me?" You're tuning in to the Li Mei Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.